Hello, everybody.
Hello. Welcome
Hi.
back to the Order of Remembrance.
Order of Remembrance, and it's 2026. It's February. I don't know where January went, but January came and went, and we are in the second month. And it seems like we had a whole year within a month, but I'm sure we'll get down into that too. But I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Arianna Apparicio, aka, or also known as Coach Apparicio with Already Aligned by Design.
Yes, and my name is Amickoleh Imani, and I'm the founder of On The Cusp Wellness.
Yeah, and we're back with episode 3 of the Order of Remembrance, and we're gonna just see where this episode flows with us today. But we were doing some talking behind the scenes before filming started with depression, and we were getting into some things with that. But we are also doing some life updates too. So, Amickoleh, where do you want to start? Like, what's on your spirit to bring us back into remembrance about today?
Well, to be quite honest, I feel like what I've been navigating is going to weave in right along with what was called on your heart to speak on the forefront today, which is, the topic around depression, because that is actually something that I was just recently navigating in the past week. So I thought that was really interesting that that was something on your spirit to talk about. So I was like, we could talk about it. I got things to share.
Yeah, no, I love it. And it was definitely something on my heart because I've noticed a couple, I feel like depression comes in these seasons. I guess my journey has always led me to how could I be the best servant I can to the people I love. And I think that one common factor that I find with the people I love is that they go through these spells of depression. And I was sitting down talking to, in my life, in my life career now is what I call it now. I've always been led back to like therapy or being a great friend or coaching or mentoring or whatever. And I feel like it's really important to keep growing and keep challenging yourself. And lately I find myself challenging how do I best serve people in conquering their depression?
Mm.
Because to acknowledge depression is one thing, but to conquer it is another thing. And I think acknowledging is a huge first step in being courageous and being able to say, okay, yes, I am in depression. I acknowledge what it is. I acknowledge I'm not my best self. But then how do you get people to come out? How do you serve them in any way, means, or capacity in order for them to know, like, I'm coming out? And when does it become enabling? And when do you
Mhm.
enable depression? And when do you basically have people, when you enable the energy? Even though you know it's a negative energy, even if you know that it might be eating that person alive, like when do you figure out or strike the balance between keeping a safe space and then doing like a soft little kick in the butt to be like,
Yeah,
hey, like I really need you to jump on your horse because you know you got this. And that's
yeah.
what I've been battling a lot with, not just with my coaching, but with my person.
Hmm.
Like the fear of being like, wow, will people think that I no longer create a safe space for them because I'm not letting the depression sit as long as what they would like it to be? Do they feel like I'm rushing them through depression? Do they feel like I'm rushing them through grieving? Or just accepting that people are going to grieve in the time that they grieve and just pray that the universe will send the people who, when they are ready,
Hmm.
will help them through that in that stage and just being able to be that vessel. Like if God didn't send me to help you see you through your depression, but give you a safe place to where you could be depressed and just not end your life, then that is something that I will be there for. But it's kind of navigating where the universe has you in that space because I can only love humanity. And I think this is something I came to terms with very recently. I can only love humanity the way I love myself.
Yeah.
And I look at my friends and my loved ones in depression. I just remember how I would have wanted to have been loved through that and how
Hmm.
I was grateful that my friends extended that safe space to me. But I also knew that depression wasn't my life. I knew it was a temporary season. I knew this was something that was challenging me, where it was just like, wow, like you never thought this low of yourself. You always thought you can conquer everything. You always knew that you were made for greatness. So what is this feeling? What is this feeling of feeling down and out? What is this feeling like you're not worthy of something?
Mm.
I remember that nothing could really help me through that but me. But I remember the sense of agency I took over
Mm.
my life in that moment. And the voices I remember hearing when I was in the car, because I talked about this at in September in the Suicide Prevention Month speech that I gave to the women to Unity. And I remember hearing these voices and it was almost like my spiritual parents. That's how I always hear them. And I'm just like, I remember them talking to me saying, like, you're not done. So they were just like, it's almost like it was like that quick little, like, you're not finished. Like, we don't know
Mm,
what's going on. Like, we know what's going on with you, but you have to understand that you're not done here. And it's like
mm,
almost like their words were absolute. Like no matter if I tried to take myself out, I knew for a fact it wasn't going to happen. Like it was
mm,
such a definitive, like you can try as much as you want, but we made you. And you're not out of here until we tell you you're out of here. And I'm just like, all right. And that was like that was the beyond me experience I got. But I've really been in the battle and I'm very curious to hear what you think of Amickoleh because I know you've also dealt with clients and we also, me and you talk personally on here. We've had our bouts with depression. We've had our bouts with, fighting off what I call a demon at this point.
yeah,
I'm quick to call depression a demon because it speaks death onto you. Like
yeah,
the depression's whole goal is to take you off the planet. That's
yeah.
depression's whole goal. And I'm just curious to hear what you think because yeah, I've really been studying, refining my coaching, refining my methods as to how to really tackle this and be able to say, okay, what kind of coach do you need me to be? Do you need
Mm,
me
mm.
to be the faith-based coach, or do you need me to be the stern mentor who's just like, hey, listen, you acknowledge it, which is great, but now we need more than acknowledgement. We need the steps. We need the action plan that gets you out of that funk.
Oh, just understanding even where to begin. I feel like for me, it's important to note that I have been challenged with depression since 12, 13. This has been something that I've navigated and experienced, and I didn't have the languaging for it into my late 20s. Like I always just called it my darkness, and I knew I could feel when it was coming on, and so for me, a lot of my coping mechanisms when I was growing up was like writing and music and writing songs and stuff and poetry. And so I'm grateful that I found other ways to channel that intensity, that darkness. And then when I stepped into my healing journey, I was like, okay, great, this is what's going to fix me. Like this is going to like help me figure out like why I have these feelings and these challenges with suicidal thoughts and things like that. And you know what? It wasn't until you and I started talking and you started sharing with me like your theory around depression and it being an emotional something an emotional disease if you will or dis-ease of the emotional body and less of the mental component. I always thought that was so fascinating because for me, my experience with depression is those very loud, intense thoughts. And every time I go through an experience, I just tell myself like, just hold on, just like hold on. It's like it feels like, and I don't surf, but I can imagine if you were like a surfer and you catch a swell that's like pretty violent, if you will, and it's like you're getting tossed around and you're like trying to like come up for air, you're trying to fight, and then you're trying to relax and you're trying to like do all these things to like make sure you don't drown. And that's what it feels like to me. It's like what can I hold on to? What part of me can I hold on to? Who can I hold on to like just to like move through this experience so I don't allow it to overcome me and I don't allow it to succumb me. And I feel like it's acknowledging that, like you said, acknowledging that pain and doing your best to like survive it and to move through it, and then also doing your best to like tap into resources or people that, like you said, can speak life into you. And I feel like it's just like in those moments, people feel so far away from you. Even like your most loved, beloved people that you knew that that like you can go to them for anything, you can talk to them about anything. But when you're in that darkness, it's like that just feels. It's like you're like falling down this pit, and you're trying to like reach out, and it's just they just getting further and further and further away. And so my initial thoughts to anyone that's navigating through something like that is like if you can get through like the violence of it all and like just send that text or like an email, whatever you can like help, like just whatever word, whatever you can just like get out to acknowledge it, because there is this part of you that wants to be seen and heard and held and wants to know that it's going to be okay. And I feel like I've heard those voices that it's very similar to what you expressed, like this. I remember the first time like I really was like I'm gonna try. I'm just like ready. I'm like ready. I'm done. I'm ready to get up out of here. I'm good. I'm done. I was like 13, and before I could even like grab a thing to try anything, I just heard this like very loud, clear voice of like, but what if it gets better? Like, what if it gets better, but you're not going to be here to know? And I remember looking around like,
Like, who the hell said that? Like, where'd that voice come from? And it just felt like future me, like who's like gotten through this, who's been able to survive, who's been able to make it. And I do my best to hold on to that voice in those moments. I feel like it's important to like feel the feelings and then like allow yourself to be vulnerable, because that feels very like, and I've even had thoughts of like, kind of similar to what you just expressed of like, does this, but I kind of on the different, on the other side of the spectrum of like, am I still as good of a guide or a mentor or whatever if I'm navigating through this, and kind of feeling the shame of like, I don't want people to know because I don't want them to think that I can't hold them, and I actually had a guide that I was working with, a coach I was working with, who was like, no, like she was like, I would want to know that my guide, coach, therapist, whatever, has been able to navigate through something like that, because if I ever get into a place like that, I know that they would be able to support me. And that was like a really big shift for me, a shifted perspective, because there's definitely like this level of like shame. And so I feel like, as you were talking about kind of striking the balance between how much do I hold someone, then how much do I kind of like try to pat them on the butt and like and try to lift them up. And I feel like you do a really great job of this. I mean, you and I have talked when I've been in like spells and spirals and lows and things like that, and I feel like you do a great job of like being able to hear the person and intuit what version of you they need. My advice would be like to just keep following that intuition, to keep following that curiosity, if you will, because I'm sure like when you're in session with clients and you're kind of, you're trying to suss out, how do I move with them, how do I pivot with them or navigate with them. I'm sure you're kind of like picking up on certain things, whether it's certain words or like maybe it's their body language or how their voice dipped when they said this thing. And I think the more you can like kind of follow those breadcrumbs, you'll know when to like push and to be like, okay, actually we need to pull it back a little bit and like let's just sit here for a second.
Thank you for that as well. And I have to return the compliment because, viewers don't know, but you have also been an amazing coach and an amazing friend. And that's what I learned more so as I started going to this coaching as well. I started to realize that people just want friendship. And I
Mm,
noticed that friendship becomes so rare now because I think we're jumping to the extremes of what relationships are. The thing that I resonated the most with you is when it's like depression seems so far away, but we always knew in our heart space that there were friends at the time that would
yeah.
drop everything on a dime to be there because I think that's the universe's way of saying, like, we never abandon you. There are people
Mm,
who are working right that we use as the vessels for us to tell you that you're not alone. But
mm.
depression has a really great way of making it seem like it's only you.
Oh my goodness,
No
what?
one else understands you. And I have to bring this up because, again, the viewers don't know, but I remember there was a very deep spell I went into. It wasn't long, but it was very strong, like you said, like very violent. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember just giving up on all of humanity. And I don't know what had you think of me or thing, but I'm a numerologist in my heart. I don't know much about it logically, but in my heart, I
Mm-hmm.
know it's real. It was three people who called me, and the other two people was expected. It was my mom and my mentor. Whenever I'm in this flux, it's just like they just feel it and they call me
Mm-hmm.
immediately. But the third person was you. And you said, I don't know what is going on, but it can't be you thinking like this. And you can't be the one. I'm like, Mickey, I'm telling you, I'm just feeling so down. Like, is humanity really like, is there hope for us? Like, can we really get through this? Like, like I'm really sitting here and I know what I know, but sometimes life will just throw you these challenges where it's just like, are you sure you know? And you're just like, damn, well, don't tell me I don't know, because if I don't know, then
Then what are we
everything's
really doing
lost. Like,
here?
if I can't stand on nothing, then what is that all this for? You know what I mean? And I really resonate with what you said about again just the pit, like the violence of it, right? And it's like a war that only you know because it's happening internally. Like no one
Yeah.
really sees it like that. Like there's some people who could see through. My hope and my desire, and maybe the thing that I'll start advocating more loudly for is that I wish we really start going into emotional intelligence more. I wish we stop making depression, to me, again, I'm not a doctor, so no one take this as like, medical advice or anything. But I swear the more I study depression, the more I see that the mind is just a symptom of what
Mm-hmm.
depression really is. And depression comes from a heart space where the emotions come from. I don't know much about, I know a lot about neuroscience, but I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm not officiated. But the more I study depression, it's just like, well, people don't feel depression from their brain. It's not like you got told. It's like when I look at children, right? Like when I see
Mhm.
children get sad. Children don't get sad because they figured out something new they didn't know. They get sad
Mm.
when someone tells them that they're stupid for not knowing something that they know. And it's just like, it's a feeling. Like it always comes from a feeling. And I don't know where we are. Again, I have my theories, as you say, that I'm really trying to prove. Like I'm really trying to make these things like really concrete. But the most concrete concept I have right now is that we have abandoned, not abandoned, the feminine energy definitely left on purpose. And I get why,
Mm.
because we have come as far, which me and you talk about a lot. The
Mm.
masculine energy has gotten us this far. We have conquered nature. Now nature bows down to us. If we can torch this planet if we want to, or we can save the planet if we want to. Like we have all this power and dominion over everything else. We have law and order, we have structure, we know what towns look like in villages and countries now. Like we know we are even starting to even imagine a global civilization where everyone is tapped into the same communication, the same traditions, the same laws, the same sense of justice and peace. Like we're starting to build all these things up, and I can't thank mass and energy enough for that, for being the outward action of that. But then I look at where the feminine energy slept for a while, and it
Mhm.
shows in the depression. Like the world is in a huge depression. Even if people are not fighting externally, people are fighting internally. People are not punching their neighbors, but when they go home, they're thinking about taking pills. And I think it's a very, very important conversation to start shifting the perspective on to emotional intelligence and being able to tap into, hey, listen, how do you feel today? Even if someone that you're thinking about just saying, hey, listen, I just called to check up on you to see how you're feeling. This is not, and that's what I meant with friendship. The more I study coaching, the more I study mentoring, is the more I realized that when my mentor relieved me from being his student, I realized when he said certain things to me, he's like, I could talk to you now as a friend. And that
Mm.
always hit me some type of way because I was just like, man, like, do you really just become a friend after your mentor, or have you always just been
Mm.
a friend? But once like a person recognized that, oh, you're the friend that's just teaching me something, and I'm just a friend that,
Mm.
and it can switch. It can easily
Yeah.
be like, "Hey, listen, well, I'm learning just as much from you. So maybe the better title is that we are friends. You just show your appreciation for me by helping me pay my bills. You see what I'm saying? Like you just showed appreciation for me by paying for my time. But if you need me, you got me. And I think that that is where I think coaching and therapy is going to blend into eventually. It's like when people start to know that they have friends and people
Mm.
friendship again, they learn how to support each other genuinely. Like, I'm not looking for anything out of you. It's like I just want you to know before you give up, just come and reach out to me. Before you think that there's no one who sees the value in you. Just reach out to that one person that you know for a fact, in the darkness of darkness, you know for a fact they always saw the light in you, even if you can't see it in yourself. And that's just what I've been coming to realize now, because you're absolutely right. In the darkness of my life, I knew the people who would drop everything for a dime for me. But it was such a strong, violent, dark, fight, and I pray, because again, my whole goal of my life has always been, how could I serve the people I love the best? That
Mhm.
has always been my North Star. That has always been my guiding light. But I have learned what passive love does well and doesn't do well. I have learned what assertive love does well and what doesn't do well. And I always come back to the teachings of the Buddha for this, because it's the most comprehensive thing that makes sense to me. But it's the
Mm.
balance. It's the balance of knowing when you're the passive love, where you're just the one who needs to listen and hug and promote and cheerlead. And then there's the more assertive love, where it's just like, hey, listen, we can hug, but you told me that you had a deadline and you told me that you wanted to get this done. So let's hold you to the thing that you know you're capable of doing, and let's hold you to the thing that you set out for yourself.
Yeah.
I will love you through that. Even if we have to extend it, even if we have to push it, I will love you through that. But you have to start moving, because depression, again, I think depression also wins. And maybe we can go segue into this. I think depression also wins in stagnation too. It doesn't
Oh,
have,
absolutely.
yeah, it doesn't have to end in self-deletion. It can literally win and you being stagnant your whole life and being
Yes.
in it for a long time.
100%. I remember when I was moving from Santa Fe to New Mexico, and I had to have my little layover in Jersey, and I had to stay with my mom for a month and a half. And I remember and that wasn't my plan. That wasn't the way that I wanted it to go, right? And so I was like, this is not an ideal situation. Like, this is a really tight living experience. Like, I don't know. Like, I was like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to get through this until it's time for me to transition and move on. And I remember being like, okay, I was like, I need to give myself a project. I was like, because if I don't and I allow this situation to overcome me, because was not my plan, this is not what I saw for myself, I was like, I'm going to fall in a state of depression and I don't have time for that. Like, I remember very clearly being like, I can already see what's about to happen if I don't set up some kind of boundary for myself, some kind of parameters to help me focus on something outside of my reality not being the way I wanted it to be, right? And so there's definitely opportunities where you can preemptively kind of be like, "Ooh, I already see what that can do. Boop, boop, boop. Let me, like, what can I do to course correct right quick before we even get that far?" Right. And then there's those emotional lessons or the experiences. And I think this is interesting because this is what I wanted to bring into the conversation when we last checked in, was like repeating those lessons. And I know you and I have had this conversation so much as you coached and guided me in certain, areas that I just needed to be poured into. And you just get so frustrated with yourself and you're just like, how the hell am I here again? And that can lead you into a depression too, because you're like, I know I'm smart. I know I have learned something from this experience before. Like, how in the hell did I miss the signs? How in the hell did I allow myself to get here again? And then, you said that internal conflict. Well, if your inner narrative is like, you have a harsh inner critic, that will cripple you faster than anything. And so it's like really learning to soften. And I know I've thought so many times, and I've been in my rock bottoms of like, and I come out of it and I'm like, okay, maybe this is teaching me to have more compassion for humanity, to be able to understand what it really feels like to be at the bottom of the bottom, at your lowest low, when you're considering things that you know good and damn well, like, I would never do this if I was in my right mind, but I don't know what else to do. I don't know what other, and that can be, self-deletion. That can be you trying to figure out how you're going to get gas. That could be you trying to figure out how you're going to get food. And, you're like, shit, I don't know. I'm at the store. I could just put this in my bag. Like, you start, when you're low like that, yeah, let me tell you something. And that's where too, like, and I think this is like also a delicate balance. I think you see a lot of your judgments as well, because when you're like happy, healthy, you're like, oh, I could never do
Yeah.
something like that. I would never do something like that, huh? And I stopped saying stuff like that, because when you get low, you could consider it. You like, well, now I see why people do what they do. Now I
And
get
the
it.
humbling of it all. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
So I think there's definitely like an element, and this is case by case. I'm not saying this is every single experience, but I think there can sometimes be that level of like humbling, that level of like, now I understand what someone at this state would be willing to do, and having more compassion for the human experience, and allowing that to give us motivation and momentum of like, okay, I'm putting myself in a better situation and predicament, because now this is the area that I want to bring reform. This is the area that I wanted to bring more justice to, because I've been there, I felt it, and I can understand someone on at that psyche level, right? And so how can I support them, like you said, being of service to other people. And I think that's the greatest thing we can do when we come out of that state. Obviously, if you're in a state of depression, you need to help yourself first and get stable and grounded. But I think when you're able to come out of that energy and you're able to come out of that state and see more clearly, and you're like, okay, like, let me go back and look at what were the things that were coming up for me, what were the beliefs, the thoughts that kept coming up for me. And I love what you said about value, because I know for me, when I'm in a state of depression, that's the thing that I just feel like I have no value. Like, what am I even doing here? Like, I'm trying so hard. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. It feels like nothing's working out. What is even the point? Why am I even here? And you forget how valuable you are to the people. And I think there's a level of allowing yourself to, especially when you're in a strong space and state, allowing yourself to receive compliments, receive blessings from the souls that you do touch. Because when you're in those dark states and it just feels like nothing I do works, you forget about all the people that you've impacted. You forget about all the people that you've guided, supported, and helped. And I think those are some of the things that people who navigate depression, those are some things you can pull on and grab onto when you're trying to look for that grounding source. I think like the element of water is like the best, I feel like, element to give a picture of like what depression can often feel like. And it's like your grounding is being shaken. You're literally at a point where, that the earth, the physical realm feels like almost non-existent. And I think you are in that limbo kind of state, of like kind of being halfway in and halfway out. And so I call it going through the underworld, because it's like it feels like to me like it's like I'm not even like at the rock bottom. It's like now I'm underneath the earth. It's like now we didn't went like low all the way down, like we are under the ground. you
Absolutely.
know
That's how it feels. It
hmm
feels like, again, I could resonate with the water thing tremendously because it does feel like drowning. And
hmm
I resonate with a lot of the stuff that like Greeks and them say, like they always said that hell was in your mind. Like hell
hmm
is what you experience. Like it's not like an external place. It's not like we um I remember talking on the episode, another episode that, I really don't believe in heaven and hell anymore. Like, like I believe that it was great for how it got humanity here because, we need like a fear-based, incentivized system in order to be righteous and peaceful and loving. But I don't feel like we do each other a service. And by saying I fear God so much, I'm going to do right because if God disappears tomorrow, are you still going to be right? And
Ooh,
I think that we need to evolve past fear-based religion. I
yes.
think we need to evolve past like, oh, you're going to be damned to hell. Or, for example, like even again, I think parents play a big part of that because they are your God and goddess on earth. But
hmm
it's literally if your parents were to go away tomorrow, if your parents were to transition tomorrow, what kind of person would you be on your own? And I think that that is
mm
the way I tend to look at spirituality and stuff now. But I'm saying that to say that I believe in reincarnation a lot more now. I do believe in I am a metaphysician, so I do believe that physics and spirituality go hand in hand. I do believe there's a lot of concepts in physics that explains the spiritual world because the spiritual world was like the precedent of everything.
hmm
So when Newton talks about, energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred, I see the spirit as our energy. So it's like, okay,
Same.
when I leave here, I'm going to transition. I'm not going to disappear. There is no internal, and me being a spirit is me living forever. So I live forever until I choose not to live forever. But I'm
hmm
saying this to say with the lessons. I think when you're spiritually in tune, and I can at least say this for me, the more spiritually in tune I got was the more I realized there is no such thing as wasted time. The only thing that's wasted time is if you waste the lesson. And I was talking to Henry before we got on here, and he also coaches. So we do these concept things back and forth, and just listening to him sometimes really just gives me a breath of fresh air because when I said that to him, where it's like, I really don't believe in wasted time anymore. I do believe that the only time you waste, because you don't invent time, right? Like none of us knows when we were going to be born because we forget. We were in our structure, we're made to forget. So we don't know when we're born and we don't know when we're going either. Because in much as we talk about self-deletion, we don't talk about failed self-deletions either. There's a lot of people who tried to self-delete that didn't succeed. So
Right.
you have to question, wow, I don't even have control over when I go. It's like, no,
hmm
if the universe says you're not going, you're not leaving. Like, it's just like, so people think that's like a trap or that's some type of sense of control. But I think that it's all in perspective because when people have the repeated lessons, again, Mickey, me, you can attest to this. I know I can. There's lessons that smacked me in the face 5, 6, 7 times. And I was just like, man, like, and I think it's there to say you're only going through the lessons because you are still trying to learn something. And as long as you're controlling that lesson, you not only can you take accountability for it, which for me gave me more power. It made me realize that wow, I put myself through the lessons that I'm trying to learn something from. What
hmm
is it? It allowed me to almost be a scientist with my own life. Like it's just like, oh, so okay, so here's my hypothesis. I've been doing the same hypothesis. I've been doing the same methods. Of course, I'm going to get a same result because I'm not changing anything. Let me go through the trial again. Let me change this one tweak. Let me tweak it here. Let me put another variable over here. Let me see how it comes out. Once I have accumulated enough data and once I've accumulated my conclusion from that lesson, I can move on. But when you're spiritually into what I tend to understand now is that we go through these lessons for lifetimes. We
mm
go through these lessons for lifetimes. Sometimes your whole life is just learning one lesson. And it's just
mm
like, hey, listen, we see life as, oh, I can see people who don't, and this is not to offend any listeners or anything like that, but when you're more physical, right? Like YOLO, you only live once, this, that, and the third. I think there's more power in knowing that you come back. I think there's more power in knowing that you are an eternal being inside of a finite shell. And what that means is that this life is not going to be your only life. You might not remember the other lives, but this life is not your only life. So if you chose to learn this lesson, what is it doing for your spirit, not for your body?
Mm-hmm.
Is, we are born from the dirt, we go back to dirt. So what is it doing for your spirit? And I think that is where I tend to tell my clients and stuff to have grace. Because it's like you have to have grace for yourself because at the end of the day, you're thinking, oh, I only have 5 years to learn this. I only have 10 years to learn this. No, this might be your whole life. But you have to look at what it does for your spirit, what it does for your awakening, for your the growth that actually matters, not the growth as a person. Because if you choose to come back again, you're going to come back again. Not as a human being, but for your whole spirit, for the expression of source that you are.
Mm-hmm.
What is it doing for your soul elevation, which I think is way more powerful and way more meaningful than anything physically that someone can do? It's just like if
100%.
I'm going through these lessons again and again and again, am I, like you said, am I going through it to be more compassionate, to be more understanding? Because the more I understand myself is the more that I'll understand other people. The more
Mm-hmm.
that I give myself grace is the more I'll give grace to other people. The less I feel offended is the less I will offend. It's just like, so you go through these things. And again, me and Henry were talking about it, and it really struck a chord with me because I'm also realizing that there is no win or lose here either. It's just
Mm.
I came to this conclusion in my mind, and again, I'm willing to learn. I'm going to be a student of life forever, but I can only do what I remember that I have to do, and
Mm.
everything else will probably be another lifetime's lesson. Maybe in
Mm.
another lifetime I'll learn, oh, maybe I should have recycled more. Like or something like that. You know what I mean? Like maybe that'll be a thing, but I know my focus is not on recycling. Now, mind you, do I
Mm.
care about the earth? Yes, of course, but I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say that I didn't throw trash on the ground when I shouldn't have. And I used to be such an advocate for the earth when I was younger. Like, don't walk on the grass. Why do we have public parks? Like all that other type of stuff. Now I'm just like, I can't get to a trash can. Like, it'll biodegrade. You know what I mean? Like that's the way that I
Mhm.
see it in my head, but I know it's wrong. But it's one of those things where it's like, wow, that's someone's whole life here.
Mm.
Whole life from the time they were 5, they were fighting against how humans were treating the planet. And they're gonna die in that fight. And I don't even know if they're gonna reincarnate into that fight.
Mhm.
But I do know that that lesson is not my own. So it's just like, okay, maybe I'm just doing my small part to the whole collective by learning my lesson. And by me learning my lesson, the only way that I can learn my lesson is how I contribute to everybody. So it's just like,
Mm.
oh, I just need to master me. I just need to master what I came down as. I just need to be the best example of me. And I think that's where depression, to go full circle, that's why I think that there's only two enemies I really think humanity has. And I think it's fear and depression. I think those are the two ones because everything kind of comes from that, like hurting other people and pain and betrayal and all that other stuff. Like people
Mhm.
often hurt what they fear, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. They often project onto things they don't know. So there's a
Mhm.
couple things, but fear and depression for me has been such a long-term enemy
Mm.
that and I use enemy loosely because I think the purpose for them is for us to conquer it, right? Like I think that they exist for us to get over. But it's been so long ingrained that going back to what you're saying about speaking life, I think people undervalue what that means. I feel like
Mm.
people don't acknowledge that people have a choice to speak life or death into you. And when you are blessed with people who speak life, you have spoken life into me, Mickey, plenty of times. I've had people that I love speak life into me many times. I've also had people who I love who spoke death into me too, that I
Mhm.
loved speak death into me. So it's just like when you realize that humanity has these capabilities, you also understand that you're dealing with gods and goddesses. They can sit here in your space and speak death and curses onto you all day. They can do it behind you, they can do it in front of you, they can do it on the sidewalk, they can do it in your home, they can do it whenever. But then isn't it just as praiseworthy when
Mhm.
you know the power of a human being and they chose to speak life, they chose to give you love, they chose to see the value when you couldn't? Like, do you realize that there was nothing stopping that person from being the opposite person?
Mm.
Choice that they made. They decided to be there with you. They decided to speak life into you. It's not that they had to. They weren't forced to do so. So you're dealing with sovereign entities. We are all sovereign in our being. And we're literally making choices among each other every day. And when depression meets you at your hardest, I'll never forget, again, just, I guess, the call that my soul let out to the universe like, yo, I really need help. Like, I really need help. I really don't know what to do. I'm fighting this and it feels like I'm fighting alone. And
Mhm.
you know what everyone said to me? You're not alone. you might think you're alone, you might feel like you're alone, but you are not alone. And it's only something that you have to you have to come to that realization. No one else can force you. Because the only thing we can be, listen, we're gonna be by your side. And this is one of the realest things I ever heard when I was going through it when I was younger. There's like, hey, listen, whether you're alive or dead, we're still here by your side.
Mm,
And it was something that brought me the tears because I was just like, yeah, you're right. Whether I'm warm in my body, living every day, or I'm dead in a casket, the same people who was with me alive are going to be the same people at my funeral.
mm,
And it was enough for me to be like, man, is that what I want to leave the people that I say I love with? Where it's just like I didn't care to, like you said, stick it out, especially when I know that everyone's having this version of it. You know what I mean?
mm,
Because if it's meant to be a forging thing, then everyone's kind of dealing with it in their own way. So it's
right.
like, okay, depressions might not be the same. Like it might not look the same to everybody. But if everyone's dealing with it in order to conquer something, in order to live past something, then there is a joint humanity,
Mm,
us choosing to speak life onto strangers and to give grace onto strangers. And because we don't know what they're dealing with, we just know that it's a similar feeling. We just know that we all can feel it. And like you said, it comes in waves. Like I think your water analogy is amazing because that's what they literally say, that it comes in waves.
mm-hmm,
Will come when you're just happy one day and thinking you're just like, man, like, do I feel like I'm doing enough? And then
mm-hmm,
it's that self-doubt, it's that pressure, it's that heavy critique of yourself. And then you're a perfectionist, so it comes on that like that too. And it's been such a journey for me with all the people that I've talked to where I'm just like, man, how do we get rid of this demon? How do we
mm,
exercise humanity? And I think that's where, like, again, like you said, that I'm really trying to still make sure that I tap into, like, okay, what is the, and I noticed it with friendship, what is the friend that you need me to be? Because you can put any title on me, right? But it's just like, in my head, I'm just like, okay, what's the friend you need?
mm-hmm.
Is it the friend, like you said, that needs to hug you, or is it the friend that you need to just spank you in the butt a little bit and be like, hey, listen, we need you to get up. You need you to get up now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
here for 2 weeks. Like it's okay. But then you have this vision for yourself. And Henry
Yeah.
was immaculate when he said this. He said when he talks to the kids at school, every time he starts a season, he asks them their why. And he has them write it down. So anytime they feel motivated during the season, he says, hey, listen, your word's not mine. You told me this was your why. And I think that that's really important. I think the more that we try to guide people back into remembering their why for life,
Yes.
might be the way that we fight this demon. Like, I don't think, again, and maybe I sound a little Satanist here or Luciferian, but I don't think demons are evil. I think demons are sad. I think demons are like basically depression incarnate. I think that's what demons are. And I
Yeah.
think that there's a sympathy for them because Japan speaks on this mythos a lot more so, but there's like a purification of demons. Like there's
Mm,
that go out and they can basically talk to demons. I can't remember what religion this is, but they basically go out and they talk to demons and they can purify them and they can turn them into holy spirits and then they ascend.
mm,
So that's the kind of the representation I get for demons. It's just
yeah.
like if you look to hurt, then I have to think with my spiritual knowledge that you just don't understand that you're basically hurting yourself when you hurt
Mm,
me. I guess the full circle with back to depression is that I don't think depression is a demon where it's like it's evil and that it can't be understood. It's just like, no, depression is here because the minute that we conquer depression as a spirit of humanity, we also release depression.
mm,
Depression basically gets to go back up into the ether and it ends up being sanctified. It ends up being holy. And
mm-hmm.
that's the way that we purify it. We purify depression by trying to exercise it, where it's just like, okay, well, how do we now make sure people don't feel misunderstood anymore, unheard, unvalued, unloved, unappreciated? Like, how do we make sure that no matter where we are on the planet, people know that they're valuable? People know that they have something to contribute, even if society doesn't say so. Even if society says that, even if your parents tell you unplanned, which I think is like some of the most damning things you can hear when you understand, like, wow, you didn't even plan me. It was kind of like y'all just kind of let love happen. It's just like, okay, like y'all let love happen, but like life is hard. So it's just like, so how, even in those situations, how do we make sure that every human being on the planet feels like and knows, not feels like, but knows to a spiritual level that their life is invaluable?
Mm. You know what was coming up for me as you were sharing is, you're talking about like the demons and the enemies and things like depression and fear. And when I was trying to figure out like what would be the opposite force, if you will, and of course, the first thing that came up was like love. And I've been really deepening what that means and what that looks like. And I recently listened to a podcast episode that I felt like, oh wow, that's what love. Now I understand what this love that I've been striving for in the external world and trying to understand even within my spiritual practice in God and within my own self practice, right? Of like self witnessing and self fulfilling, if you will, fulfilling my what I feel like I'm called here to do. And I was listening to David Guillaume, who's on this podcast, and he is a Kabbalah teacher.
Yes,
And so
yes,
he was
Kabbalah,
talking about,
too, by the way.
yes.
It's really good.
So he was talking about how like he views like the fragmentation of society as like people well, first of all, he looks at the creator as like the source of light, right?
Yep.
And so he's like the creator's like, imagine the creator being like the purest form of light, right? And then all these other aspects of reality are like the colors, the fragments of colors that are being shown
Sounds
through
like Kabbalah,
this.
all right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the Sephiroths and stuff. They're really great.
And it was and he was like, everyone's chasing these different colors when they could just be chasing the light, the truth, like the source of these colors. And when he said it like that, I was like, yo, that's exactly what it is. We're all looking for love in these different pockets, places of our reality,
But
whether it's
love
your
is the
parents,
expression of
your
all of them.
partner, your work, whatever the case may be, right? And that's where we are getting our source of sense of validation. And so when he was positioned it like when you can just be chasing source and just looking for source or God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, I was like, yo, you're right. Because if I say connected to the divine, if I say connected to the creator, it's going to yield all these additional things that I want
Yeah.
because the innate desire that I have to have these things is my signal, if you will, that this is what I am going to have. And
Right.
so if I can trust that
Yeah.
God, source, universe, the creator loves me so much that they want to give me these things in the most aligned and perfect way. Funny enough that we're all chasing perfection, but they want to give us this thing in the most aligned, the most perfect way for our soul and for us to be able to receive it and to gain that lesson and that wisdom, you know. That's a really huge game changer because then you stop looking towards outside validation, right? My practice that I've just started implementing is like now going back through some of those lessons that felt really challenging and difficult and maybe sparked depression or whatever the case may be, and seeing where was the divine in that. I know it didn't end out the way that I wanted to, or I didn't get with the person that, we didn't live happily ever, whatever the case may be. I didn't get that job. I thought I was going to get it, da da da.
But where was the
But
light in it?
where was the light in that? Where was the divine? When did I feel the most connected to the divine within that container of experience? And when did it shift? That was something I was reflecting on myself today. I was in a connection with this person and it was so beautiful. And there was this seed of love that sprouted and I had never felt like that towards anyone. So I was sitting back and I was reflecting. I was like, damn, it didn't end the way I wanted. And like this, that, and the third happened. And I didn't like the way they did X, Y, and Z and blah, 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 blah. And I could feel myself starting to go inward, that energy starting to invert. And I was like, hold up, wait a second. I was like, what did I leave that person with? I was like, oh, I know I left. I was like, oh, I know like that. I left a very positive imprint on that person. I know I did. Right. And I was like, and I deserve the same. I deserve to remember the positive, the light, the joy. I deserve to allow that person's experience to have a positive impact on me, even if it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Right. And I think it's that part. It's like loving ourselves so much to have that level of awareness, and then to identifying, okay, this is when I felt the most connected to the divine in this experience, and this is what was happening, this is what's unfolding, and knowing that, like, okay, great, like that's what I'm looking for in the next experience, and even better, and even bigger. And like trusting that like it's going to get better. Like I didn't lose that just because it didn't, like you said, nothing is ever lost. I didn't lose that. I gained experience, I gained wisdom, I gained insight for how I like to be treated, for the things that I like to do in partnership. And like I'm going to carry that lesson on with me. I'm going to carry that medicine on with me. And so I think it's that piece. And then I also started practicing like like releasing the attachment to the physical, because I think that's another source that can yield depression, is that you're like so busy trying to hold on to this ideal version of yourself, this ideal version of someone else, this ideal version of your life, of this job, of the whatever, and you're not allowing it to evolve, which sometimes looks like you letting go or it letting go of you so that you can grow and so that you can receive the medicine of what you did experience, and then allowing yourself to flow on and move on and grow on. And so that's what I did. I was like looking back at these things that I just felt like, God, man, I wish I would have made better choices for myself, or I wish I wouldn't have let it go on this long, or I wish I would have said something sooner, and focusing on all the negative instead focusing on like, wow, this is what this gave me. And I remember that moment where I felt so grateful for this person. And I remember that moment when we did this thing and I was probably so much joy. I was like, I'm gonna hold on to that because that's what I deserve. I deserve to feel like that. I don't deserve to allow myself to feel like anything else, because if I'm indeed a fragment of the divine, an aspect of the divine, is that how the divine would treat itself? Like you said, we're all gods and goddesses, right? Is that how I would treat myself as a goddess? Let myself sit and stew in this and allow it to overtake me and dethrone me? Is that
But
how is
you
that
say
how I
it
would
so
show up?
masterfully in your concepts and your teaching, where it's just like we're the architects of our reality, and that is the responsibility and the power of a god. Is that you define your reality? You are the in fact in Freemasonry they say you are the grand architect, and they
Mm-hmm.
worship the grand architect of the universe. So it's just even when you said with light and divine light, because yeah, the Kabbalists teaches Sephiroth, they do teach the light bringer or the light being source. And yeah, it would I think humans would be kind of scared if they realized like how powerful we are. And there is a since we're talking about fear, there is a righteous fear to be had when you realize how
Mm-hmm.
powerful you are because you never want to fear the irresponsibility of power. You never want
Mm-hmm.
to not fear the ego that comes with knowing that you are all powerful. You want to have a righteous fear. And they'll call it righteous fear religion, but I just honestly think it's understanding. It's like in
Mm-hmm.
true understanding of power, you know, okay, I need people who are going to ego check me. I know I'm no exception to the rule when I know I'm at my most powerful, that I can really turn this place upside down if I wanted to. But like you said, in learning and understand, like you said, the light of it, I think that is how we have to remember how sovereign we are. It's like if we put ourselves through these lessons, then understand that there is a light in this lesson. There is a divinity in this lesson. Like you were talking about your lights, and the first thing I thought about were the fathers of my children. And it was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, like I didn't end up with those men, but I did recognize two things. Some of the most fundamental things to this day that I teach and I talk about and practice is that light only goes where darkness is. If light exists
Mm-hmm.
with light all day, you would never be able to differentiate. It's the same thing with darkness. If you turn off all the lights on the planet, no one knows where they are. There is no
Mm-hmm.
form, there is no space. Someone, if there was flat Earth, well, someone will walk off. Like it's just like there's nothing distinguishing what is your next step and what's not. But it's the same thing with light too. You put anything in too much of white light, you also don't have any form. You also don't have any void. So the expression of light is what you say are those pockets of color, where it's just like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
listen, there are some of us who just like, wait a minute. If everything is divine, if everything is expression of source, then I just want to be at peace with all expressions of source. I just want to be able to say, hey, listen, I appreciate being one of your expressions. And I appreciate and I understand now my power in you giving me a piece of you. Just a
Mm-hmm.
because you are infinite. You are infinite. I am not to sit here and say that rocks don't have life when the earth is made of rocks. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to judge it. In certain religions, rocks and animals and trees, they're given spirits. So it's just like, I don't even want to say that I'm going to judge that because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
make water. I will never be able to make water in my finite life. I will never be able to take if water did not exist, I could never in my human self be like, yeah, I'm gonna add this molecule and add that molecule and make rain. I can do that? No. Like, I have to be grateful and acknowledge the source that did.
Mm-hmm.
The whole nother expression of itself. Rain in itself is a whole expression of source. The air that we breathe is a whole expression of source. The butterfly that flaps in the wind itself is an expression of source. So there's so many things to be grateful for and find a light in. And
Mm-hmm.
when I think about my kids, the thing that came to me immediately was because I was just like, man, I learned that I went, when my cup is filled, I go to the darkness. I go for people
Mm,
who need my love, but when I need to recharge, I go with people who just want me.
mm,
And that's what I learned the most. I learned that when I need a recharge, I'm always around people who love themselves a lot. When it's just like I have so much love for myself that you're gonna get poured over because
mm,
we love on each other. It's like I don't find any joy in being like there's just the things that dark people would think, like, oh, I have to be jealous of you, fear you, be envious of you, hate on you, whatever the case may be, which is not really, again, damning them because we don't believe in that. I don't believe in damning
mm,
anyone, but we know what dark spirits do. Oh, I'm jealous of this person. I can never be this person. I have to hurt this person. I have to end this person. That stuff.
mhm.
It's like, no, when we are filled up with our cup, what I've come to learn is that people who find themselves in a situation like that, where it's like, well, why was I with that partner who was taking everything
Mhm.
from me? I was like, did you love yourself before that partner? They was like, man, what do you mean? Like I was out here, I was doing my thing. I was like, and you went with someone who you can guide. You went with someone who you can teach through action.
Mm.
And you poured into them, but their cup had a hole. That's what it is.
Mm.
But you always
Child, girl, you preaching right now, child. Woo.
listen, there's stuff that, again, I had to sit with, and this is what the power of the feminine does, which I love being a female. The
Amen.
the female is the inner reflection, it's the inner analysis. And it's just like, man, why did I pick these men and women? If you're gay or not, it doesn't matter. It's like, why did I pick these partners that took a lot from me? And I was like,
Yeah.
well, do you consider yourself a loving person? It's like, yeah, well, guess where you're gonna go? You're gonna go with people who need love. They're gonna need it. And you're going to go until what? You know when to, and you said it perfectly, detach. You
Mhm.
have to know when you have to detach. You can't be so egotistical that you think you can solve all the darkness in the world by yourself. You can't. We need a couple light bringers up in here in order to solve all this darkness. Like it can't just be one person.
Mhm.
Even Jesus, again, you know me to be a perennialist. Jesus wasn't sent alone. Jesus' spirit gets
Mhm.
reincarnated. I think Buddha and Jesus was the same person. Like they walk the same way. So it's just like,
Mm.
okay, listen, even Jesus didn't come alone. There's a Jesus in every religion you look at. Like there's a
Mhm.
savior of humanity in every religion you look at. So even they knew we cannot do this alone. We're gonna have to come back in different iterations, different versions, different races, different sexes. We're gonna have to
Yeah.
keep coming back until we conquer this thing. And it's not to be conquered like an enemy. It's meant to be purified. It's meant to be released.
Yeah.
Like, hey, listen, you no longer have a purpose here. Darkness, you no longer have a purpose here. We have conquered you, not in a bad way, but to say you have served your purpose. We need an enemy in order to conquer something, in order to be victorious. And that's what I meant by darkness being sympathetic, because when you realize that darkness, I really don't think darkness wants to be darkness. I've never met
Mm.
someone who was wicked. Again, I do know what they call it, like social paths and psychopaths exist. I do know that. But even when you go down to what a psychopath went through, it's like, man, like you was treated like this like a child. It's like, of course
Mhm.
you didn't have any empathy thrown up. Like, look at how people treated you when you were born. Like, it's just like, of course you don't. And that's what I mean by it being an emotional thing. Because I've never met, again, maybe we attract a psychiatrist on here, something like that, or people who go into the criminal system because
Right.
they've heard a lot of stories, and I watch true crime a lot. So maybe there is someone who will sit here and say, no, this this man, woman had the perfect childhood. Their parents loved them to all good graces, and they
Mhm.
still end up being a monster. And it's just like, okay, maybe there is something like that, but are we sure? Are you sure that the thing that didn't make them a monster is that they just didn't feel like they were loved the way that they needed to be loved? The
Mhm.
parents just assumed that they loved them with the best of their ability, which they don't get judged for. You get judged for how you love people to the best of your ability. There's nothing
Mhm.
saying that the way you love someone is the way that they needed to be loved. You can just hope and pray. That's why I said it takes a little bit of a humility to be like, man, I really hope the way I love this person is the way that they needed it,
Mm.
because we can't be egotistical in that too. But when me and you talk about these concepts, for me, it really comes up to saying like, wow, the only thing you can really do is pull out the things that are your strength or your
Yeah.
light in the situation. And when I think about the fathers of my children, I'm just like, I was given the manifestation of what my light was. I was given two amazing children. So it's just like, even when I go back to that, I'm just like, man, what was all this for?
Hmm.
My answer I wake up to every day. And it's just like, okay, so I was giving the physical manifestation of what this light was for me. All
Mm.
the pain, all the heartache, all the trying to understand humanity through my own personal relationships. Like me trying to understand, wow, how could people be so hurt? How could people have all these people in their corner and still feel like they're being fought against or they have,
Mm,
and then you're sitting here and looking at them and it's like, wow, I could resonate with you. Like I could understand you, but you have a lesson to learn in that. Because you would not like if someone was to treat you that way. And that's what I think the lesson is. It's just like you would not like for someone to turn around and talk that crap about you, treat you that way, know that someone loved you to with all their heart and desire, only for you to not have the heart to receive it.
mm,
You don't, you wouldn't want that feeling. So you have to
mhm.
conquer that. And if it's a, like how me and you work in the field, if it's a childhood trauma, there's psychiatry and therapy for that. If it's something even deeper than that, then they're bringing mental science back. I don't know. But I do hope that it does extend more to the emotional intelligence and it being more like me and you always talked about the concept of opening up like these clinics and
Yeah,
retreats. Like where it's like where the whole goal of this is to get emotional fulfillment and spiritual fulfillment, bringing back the feminine energy, tapping into inner work because there's
yeah,
only so much the world can do if you're not willing to do the work for yourself. There's only so
mhm,
much external things can do. It has to be a balance of it. Yeah, life teaches you lessons, but if you don't internalize the lesson, then you're going to keep getting it again and again and again. And by sovereignty and divinity, you allow it because the minute that you learn it, the lesson stops.
it's over.
It's a
That
wrap.
and that's where, we were talking about, I think a couple episodes ago, of not having to learn through suffering
Yes.
and not having to learn through so much pressure too. Me and my friend were talking about today, and I was also reflecting before we even talked this morning. I was reflecting on that. I do my voice notes and stuff when I feel really strong and clear because I go back and I listen to myself when I'm kind of feeling a little wobbly or shaky. And that was something that was coming up for me, of like not having to learn through suffering and pressure, and being able to catch the signs well enough in advance so that I don't put myself in this experience or in a lesson where I'm allowing a behavior to be okay because I'm trying to hold on to the vessel, I'm trying to hold on to the being, I'm trying to hold on to the situation, the experience, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was reflecting on, of like, when was the first couple of cues, when was the first couple of signs, and then what within me chose to override that messaging and still grit down and bear it,
I think you
and
love
then
people make you the way that you would want yourself to be loved.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm
So
guilty
when that
of the
doesn't
same
happen, what
too.
I've learned is
Right.
that, like, okay, I love that person for as long as I could in whatever format that looked like, and they got what they needed, and I got what I needed,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Being
Yeah.
able to honor that and being able to hold myself accountable, of like, and you stayed too long, and that's when you chose suffering over
Yes.
love.
Yeah.
The
It's always
divine
the same.
Divine's love shifted. That's what I was noticing today in my most recent experience dating this person. I was like, when did that energy shift? Because there was so much beauty and
Mm,
lightness, curiosity, and I was intrigued. And I was like, not enamored, but intrigued, just very curious. Like, what is here for me? What is this experience giving me and allowing me to experience within myself and within another being,
yeah.
you know? And then also noticing, okay, and then when did the dynamic shift? Right? When did the divine say,
It
okay, this
shifts
is
and you
complete.
feel it.
Now I'm moving your direction over here. I'm moving your focus over here. And then I may not be like, but I'm not ready to put my focus over there.
It's true because that's when the ego and the heart fights. Yeah, yeah, that's the mind and the heart fights. But no, you're absolutely right. And that's what I found myself telling a lot of clients. And again, it's a lesson I had to learn before. And thank God, right? Because we always talk about this too. Like when did we feel ready to be coaches? I was like, when I started practicing the stuff I preached. Like when I started to become a student of my own philosophies, I knew I was ready. So what I find myself echoing to people now is the same thing I learned years ago, which is
Mm.
do not stay to where you change. Because if you allow people to
Mm.
change who you are, then you never knew who you were. And
Oof.
that is a very powerful thing. And personally, that's what I had to go through. I went through um one anime that I love to come back to is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and it plays off the concept of deconstruct to reconstruct. And when I
Mm.
tell people I deconstructed myself so many times in my life, people often say, "Well, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Don't be sorry." Because in deconstructing myself, I restructured myself more powerful than what I've ever been. I realized that I could not deconstruct myself to go from sand to the mud, right? I had to
Mm.
deconstruct myself on sand, and then that house sank through. Then I was like, okay, let me move, and then I went to the mud, and that house stayed a little bit longer, but it sunk through again. I'm like, okay, well, sand can't go, mud can't go. Let me go to sediment. Let me start putting cement down. Oh, cement
Mm.
stays a little stable, but okay, but my cement cracked this time, maybe because I didn't check the foundation underneath the cement. So every
Mm.
time you deconstruct, again, the only time you waste that time is when you don't learn a lesson. If I sat here and I said, oh, wow, I built my house on sand this time and it went through and the foundation cracked and I couldn't stay. Let me go further down the beach to the same sand and build that house again. It's going to go through the same way. And the deconstruct and reconstruct is very powerful because when we talk about these things of, again, not only just going through the lessons, but learning your inner self. I
Mhm.
always tell people, no, you said it perfectly, Mika, when you said that you're learning about physical detachment. That's something that also Buddhism and Hinduism, as you know, teaches. It's the detachment of the physicality. When you realize you're a spiritual being, you realize that everything physical is just like enjoyment. It's just like, wow, like
Mm.
I'm really just in a finite form, but I don't even stay here forever. I stay here for whatever time that I allowed myself to stay here for, and then I'm gone. And the power in that is that you know that there's something more meaningful when you go through spiritual evolution, when you go through something that no one can really explain, where it's just like, man, I'm sitting in this relationship, like you said, and I know I'm overstaying. I'm getting every sign from the universe that I'm overstaying. But what am I here? Am I testing? And what for me, I found out I was testing my resolve. I was testing how far my
Mm.
limits of love can go until I
Mm.
said that this is no longer there. And you know where love took me? Love took me almost to taking myself out. That's where love took me. I am willing to be sacrificed for love. I learned that about myself. I will sacrifice myself. Is now there's two ends of the spectrum. To have someone else take me out would be me not loving myself. But to sacrifice myself for someone I love, I would gladly do. And it made me realize that I am sacrificial, but in what way do I want to be sacrificial? Do I want to be sacrificial to where someone else can take me out anytime they want to? And then we sitting here questioning whether they even mean to or not, or if they were going through a spell and they were just like, man, that was the worst mistake of my life. I was like, yeah, but I'm already off the planet, so you can't really take that back. You could never make me here again in this time and space. My mom and my dad will not come back together and make another me. Like I'm gone. But if someone was gonna get hurt, and I, of my own sovereignty and of my own action, jump in front of a car or stop a bullet or pump CPR or take venom out or whatever the case may be to the sacrifice of my own life, I don't have to think twice. And I think that's where people, when you get a healthy touch of a healthy dose of detachment, you realize that you realize like, oh, I'm in control of physicality, but how far am I willing to let my spirit? Because love is a spiritual power. How much am I willing to let love take me in this physical world? And what I stretched in my experiments with the two people that I was in ex relationships with was how far I was willing my love to go. Dehumanizing,
Mm.
betrayal, deception, lying, cheating, spiritually all over the place. I told you how many religions I was before I even got into relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It's Hebrew Israelite, Jewish, Islamic. I'm going all over the place. And I'm sitting here going like, man, all I'm doing is loving this person. I'm letting them and I'm allowing myself to let them take me into their world. But you know what's dangerous? They don't even know their world. So now I'm
Mm.
tumbleweed in the dryer of their world. Like it's just like, oh, well, my heart allowed you to come in, but you came in with so much, again, we call it chaos. But you can call it chaos, you can call it unknown. It's just like, man, you really don't know what's going on. And if I love you and I take you in, then I also allow myself to not know what's going on. I'm sitting here trying to figure it out with you. Which again, love will do. Love will sit here and take on the people who are chaotic and be like, hey, listen, but this is what I meant by the divinity, and we touch on this a lot. When do you walk away? And you walk away when that light, you have to know it of yourself. But when you feel your light diminishing, you can't be so much in an egotistical space that you feel like you could save people. It's not a
Woo.
type of thing. It's just like, yo, I am here and I love you as far as I can go. But if me loving you takes me out, then how do I know that God don't have a purpose for me or the creator or source don't have a purpose for me to where I really do have to give my life for this person, not for you. I really have children. Like I really have to give my life to my kids. If you took me out, how could I ever do that for my kids? I have to hope and pray that someone would do that for them. But I already know I would. So you're giving my life up to chaos and unpredictability. And that is
Mm.
not always through my own experience. That's why I find myself telling a lot of people now when they come into a space, I'm like, always leave before you change. I just had
Mm.
another friend. I've had a couple people who come from some nasty divorces, and you can tell that they were very loving people. And I'm just like, hey, listen, the minute you start to hate that person, I have to blame you. The minute you
Mm.
start to really dislike that person, I was like, because you did not come into that relationship hating them. Do not allow people to make them change your perception because you should still be the same loving being that you were when you walked in. Because they ain't changed. They didn't change. You now seeing things and you're trying to say, oh wow, like they're different, this and the third. But you really think God did that for no reason? Sometimes the lesson is not yours. Sometimes you are the lesson for somebody else. Sometimes you walk in for someone to say, wow, like you were the light in my life. It's like, yeah, and you gave me the darkness that I needed to grow. So it's just like, great, thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Yep,
that. I appreciate
exactly it.
it so much. But
Yeah.
it really comes down to for me, through lived experience, always leave a situation when they're going to, number one, threaten your self-value or your intrinsic value, which is life. When you're going to
Mhm.
threaten that, and before love turns to hate. The minute you start hating a person, you lost. Because that's a karma, no matter what people say, and I know different religions say it differently. Once you start to hate humanity through one person, you hate humanity everywhere.
Wow.
You have to be very careful because everything that we say we hate, we have to acknowledge that as humans, we might just not even understand. So it's just
Mhm.
like, okay, I hate you because I allowed you to get this personal. I allowed you into my space, even though I saw, like you said, the signs, and I'm learning the signs and stuff like that. But don't you feel so much better? And maybe this is something that we could echo off of, right? But when I learned my signs of the people I was starting to date and stuff like that, I started taking it less personal. I was just like, yeah, I really do let you crazy people into my space and I let you guys run amok. And then it's just like, oh, okay, you know what? No more. But it's like the more
Yeah.
I did it, is the more I laughed at it. It's the more I felt
Mhm.
free. It's just like, oh no, y'all only here because I allow y'all to be.
Mhm.
And in that situation, you have to say, okay, well, why do you allow it? I was like, because I'm trying to learn something about me. It's not about you. I'm trying to see how far my love goes. And now that I know that my love, someone that I love can take me out if I am not aware of them not loving me the same way, I have to be more careful. I have to be more careful of the people that I love now because I've loved people who is such in dark places, make it. They literally wouldn't take me out with them, and
Mm.
I was like, well, I can't do that. Not that I can't, I won't do it because then how am I now going to express all the things I mean to express if I allow you to have that much power over me? That means I give
Mm.
sovereignty over to you. So it really is something that I try to stress to people all the time. I was like, definitely leave before you get changed. Definitely leave before you get changed for the worse. Like, and I see it again, me to be a true crime lover. But like when we see these couples that end up going crazy, they end up unaliving each other and stuff. I was like, yo, you never bore that person. You never bore that person. I was like, there is a parent somewhere more. I don't care if that parent is overseas. There's a parent somewhere mourning that child because that's a life you could never bring back. You didn't bear your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Four people had to get together and make both of y'all, and y'all had to meet somewhere in some random space of the universe. That you don't have the right to do that.
Mm.
And if you love them at one point in time, then you leave while you love them too. You don't leave while you hate them. You leave while you still love them. In fact, I found it in my personal experience that I love the fathers of my children a lot more now that we're separate. Because in a close, confined space with chaos, you can, again, the ego has to come down. Yes, you can be turned to hate. Yes, you can be corrupted. Spiritual warfare is a real thing. You can be corrupted. You can sit here in darkness so long that your light diminishes like a fire. You can be put down to embers, and then those embers have no light at all, and then it turns to ash, which is the phoenix, which is why I love the phoenix so much. It's like you
Mhm.
can go down to ashes, and then where's the revival? Where's the fire coming?
Mm. Revival.
Yeah, where's the revival? You have to hope and pray on a chance and a whim that you ever get reborn.
Mm.
You have to pray and hope then. So you have to leave while you still love, and you have to only pray that when you leave people who are in the darkness, that you can love them even more. You know how I knew I loved my fathers and my children more than what I think? Because I pray for them more than I ever pray for them. That's how I know for a fact. When you start
Mm.
praying for people more that you're away from them, they will never know this. They will not watch this episode. They will
Mhm.
not watch this episode. They probably won't watch anything I do. I can never love them more than when I was with them. Because now I acknowledge two things. Number one, they're not under my care, they're not under my roof. And number two, I have to give all faith and all power to our source. And I have to
Mm.
pray to source that it watches over them no matter where they are. Because we had children together.
Yeah.
There was not an amount of closeness between me and those men. that could have me love them more than that. Because what did I believe when we were together? My ego. Oh, well, I see you every day and you check in every day and I check in with you every day and we say I love you every day. I love you through prayer. Nah, that's deeper than what I loved you when we was in person. Like it's like,
Listen,
listen, we were just watching
okay.
Netflix before, but it's like, but now I'm sitting here going like, Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, please watch over them because I don't know what they crazy ass is doing. But I pray that they learn, and I pray that they succeeded. I pray that they're successful. I pray that they're watched over. I pray that they learn the lessons. I pray they learn the lessons before they hurt other people. I pray that no one bring harm to them. I pray that they are protected no matter what they do. I pray that they learn the lessons in mercy, in your mercy. Because some people try to learn those lessons, God, and they get taken off the earth. They get taken off the earth. I pray that they're allowed to enjoy their life. I pray that they're allowed to heal. I pray that you give them the time to heal
Mm,
because some of us aren't even granted that in this life. So
mm,
it's always that conclusion of just leaving people to where it's just like, man, if you feel like you're starting to hate somebody,
mm,
understand that that is you. That's not that other person because you allowed yourself to hate. You allowed yourself to stay in a space where it's like, man, I really don't find you desire anymore. Leave while you guys are friends. You should still be able to be friends even if you guys are not romantically together, even if you guys are sitting here going like, hey, listen, it ain't gonna work. But I love you so much that we can call this whatever. We don't even have to call it romance. We can call it whatever. Because love for you means that I want to walk this with you. Love for you means that no matter where we go on this planet, you can call me, I'm gonna be there.
mhm.
Or like we were talking about earlier, you can call me and I'm always gonna speak life into you. I'm never
Yes.
gonna speak death into you, no matter where I am on the planet, even when again, the fathers of my children ain't gonna watch this episode. No matter how I talk about you or where I talk about you, I speak life into you.
Mm,
Always. You guys did not hurt me so much to where I sit here and hate you. Because then I would have to question me. I would have to question where my love, then I wasn't really a loving being, was I? And that's me being humbled. Is if I allow people to make me hate them, then I wasn't here as an advocate for humanity. I was here saying, nah, let humanity corrupt me for real. I ended up hating these people. And it's just like, okay. Then you really have to answer sort of like, then why did you come back as a human and not as a tree? And it's just like,
mm,
you're right. Like, I don't know what. Imagine being up source and being like, yo, I don't know why I picked this. And imagine your heavenly, no matter how you see them, your heavenly body looking at you going, you don't know why? Like, what? Like, what you mean? You all knowledgeable. You all know it. You with me. So it's like, how you don't know, how you go down to earth and now don't know what everything is going.
mm.
Now you question everything. Now you don't know where you are in the cosmos.
Uh,
Yeah, girl. But please, like, if you can, guys, yeah, definitely leave relationships before you learn to hate. You know, learn the lessons, still enjoy, like you said, still be curious about the person. You know how long it's been that I've been separated from my exes and I'm still sitting here questioning things, learning things every day, going like, man,
mm,
and sometimes we have like telepathic conversations. I'm just like, I really hope you're doing good because if you sit out here and you embarrass me, you know I'm coming after you. And we have like these little like tit for tats. But I often tell them, I say, they'll be like, you know, I always knew you my cheerleader. I was like, I've always been your cheerleader, but I've been, but the whole thing is that you're no different. I'm everybody's cheerleader.
mm,
So you learning
mm.
that just means what? We can be at peace now.
Oof.
And I was the peace. You can be at peace now with me. You don't have to be fighting me anymore. You don't have to be sitting here freaking wondering if I'm gonna stab you in the back or whatever else you could project, right? You can literally be at a peace with me because I accepted your chaos. You didn't accept mine.
Mm,
Peace. You came in with chaos. So the more peaceful you get is the more what? We can be friends, is the more we align.
mm.
So it really is just
Wow.
even before all that stuff transpires. And I hope and pray that we start to become more emotionally intelligent, where people can leave and separate. And I notice this with love too, Megan. You can let me know your opinion about this. But even the way my family grew up, we're Trinidadian. I'm the first generation here. And
Mhm.
my family was scattered for most of my life. Like a lot of us was in New York and New Jersey, but a lot of us were like California, Georgia, Florida, Canada. And I didn't realize that this was what my family taught me. But in my family being so separated, but me, like me and my aunts calling in every day, me being able to vacation and go this, that, and the third, and be able to say I love you when I leave and when I come, really taught me that love is not limited to distance or time. You know what I mean? Like it's just like you can be apart for years. Friends could stop talking for years, and it's just like, but we left each other in love.
Mhm.
Left each other in love, and love is eternal. Love is forever. So if I leave you in love, why would I accept you back in dislike or nonchalantness or
Mm.
anything like that? Like, why would I not just accept you or bring you back the same way you left? And that's what I thought my family really taught me was that love is eternal. Love doesn't get defined by distance or time. But that's why I wish people would understand that. It's like when people are challenging who you are, or you feel like you're being corrupted, then if you feel like you're being corrupted in who you are, understand that love is not limited to distance or time. You can literally sit here and say, hey, listen, maybe right now, this is not what's supposed to be what it is. Maybe right now we're not supposed to be this close because you got to have an inner piece of yourself. You have to kind of come to a piece of your aura. And then
Hmm.
we can do this 10 years again. We didn't even control how we met. Let's take a break. What is really a break when we all go back to divinity anyway? What really is a break? Like, you know how me and you talk. It's like, what really is a break in all this? It's just like, no, in 1,000 years, we'll run past each other again. At least that's my
Hmm.
belief anyway. But if you love someone, it's just like, hey, listen, we don't talk right now. And this is the hardest thing I had to tell clients who are going through divorce. I was like, y'all not the first people to divorce and remarry. Y'all not the first.
True.
It's just like, y'all could just be out of time. Y'all could just be out of y'all time. That doesn't mean that y'all not meant for each other. It doesn't mean that y'all not meant to be the soulmates. The things that you know that you feel that no other people can explain. That's my soulmate. That's my twin flame. That's my okay. If you know that, then there's nothing else that I can challenge you with. But if you are that spiritual in one aspect, why are you not as spiritual to know that there is no such thing as time? Why are you rushing twin flame when twin flame is a spiritual thing? That means that forever you guys are this half of
And
this.
having this day after lifetimes.
Then you know as much as I do that this lifetime is temporary. You know that this is just a season and maybe 10 different lifetimes. So why are you rushing it for? If you're a
There
soulmate,
you go. It's the rushing. It's the urgency of the
rushing,
3D realm. It's the forgetting our internal
yes,
infinity,
infinity. Yeah.
infinity, our internal
Mhm.
infinity,
Yeah, yeah,
you know. And
absolutely.
this world does such a good that's part of the one of the things that I've been supporting myself with
Mm.
is going back through this process that I taught called the workshop is called the medicine and reinventing yourself, and I made it into a
Yes,
course, and now I'm about to teach that live because I've been going back through it, and I was like, I
I'm
really feel
really
like I'm
excited.
feeling called to teach this live. I was going to teach something else, but I'm like, this is what's currently alive for me. This is what I'm navigating,
Yeah,
and as you always encourage me to do, it's allowing me to become more intimate with my work because I'm going through it with different lenses and a different perspective and different level of awareness than when I first channeled it and taught it, right? And so it's been really showing me the third phase is currents, it's like stepping into the currents of transformation. So there's three phases. So the first phase is grief is gatekeeper, so understanding what parts of grief, and a lot of the workshop is looking at it through the lens of like identity grief, but it can be any aspect of grief. It can be
right.
physical grief as well, or internal an identity grief. You're going through a transition or a shift in reality. And so it's like the second phase is seeing the truth, seeing the present, accepting the truth. So being able to really look at where you are and hold yourself accountable and accept where you are, so that way you can see, okay, have more clarity around the options that you actually can create for yourself when you're not clinging to the past because you haven't grieved old versions of yourself. So now you're still trying to like go back and do that and do that and do that. When it's like, no, you need to actually look at what some of those choices brought you where you are today. So you don't need to be going back trying to make the same
Yeah, yeah.
choice.
Accountability is real, but we teach that in sovereignty, and you do it well because you literally talk about architecture. The minute you
Thank
talk about sovereignty, you have to acknowledge that everything up to your life. Again, you could be selective, but I don't think it pays people to be selective. And I think
you.
that's what I was tapping into with the twin flame thing and what you're saying, is that you can't be selectively spiritual in one aspect and then be physical in another. It completely wipes out. It's like if you really believe in spiritual power, if you believe that we are a spiritual energy and we go back to source and we do this all again, or let's just say you even believe in heaven and hell, that's fine. But then how could you think time is something you're constrained to? It's like you're being selectively spiritual, which I think is
Mhm.
super dangerous. Not
Well, and
for
I think that's
humanity,
something
but
I
yeah,
think that's a good thing to bring up to the collective because I feel like those are the two things that there's the most fear built around us collectively and societally is our time and our money,
yes,
right?
yeah.
And so that's what gets us in that urgency. In the third phase is following the currents of transformation, which is you getting an understanding of your soul's unique rhythm and frequency and cadence, and it's not going to look like what society is feeding you. It's not going to look like what your neighbor is doing. It's not going to look like what your friend is doing, your coach, your guide, whatever the case may be, right?
Because
And so it's being
you,
tuned to what are your innate rhythms, what are your soul rhythms, not the trauma response rhythms,
Yeah.
cadences, frequencies, not that component, not that piece. That's what you're shedding and releasing and letting go of, so you can get clear on, like, oh, this is how I'm meant to move and flow. And so I think that's the next level of awareness and sovereignty, is real helping people to understand their time freedom, and that they have choice in how they utilize their time. They're not just like in these boxes where you can only use your time like this or this or this, and and being kind of like controlled in that way. And it's
Great
like,
evolution. Yes,
yeah.
you're right. Unique. This is how society got to where it are. Someone changed the paradigm. Someone challenged the norm. Someone came with their own unique frequency or acknowledged it and brought in other people who also acknowledged it. And now we live in a society that it doesn't look anything like 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, 5,000 years, because we're not restricted to time.
Mm-hmm.
So again, when I tell you, Mick, it's just that is needed, I think, so much because again, the selective spirituality that I see in people, and I think that's where religion gets its like
Yeah.
kickback. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to teach you to be spiritual in one way, but I'm going to tell you to tithe in another. It's like, hey, listen, pay for the
Mm-hmm.
people that you pay however you can and appreciate, and only you know if you're being cheap with someone or not. Only you know that, oh yeah, I really owe Mickey my whole life, but I'm gonna pay her $2. Only you really know that deep down in your spirit. So you're always supposed to pay people what you think they're worth. If you feel like people saved you from a whole lifetime of thing, then you never leaving that person because you know what they did for you. But I feel like that is where society is shifting, where it's like it's the reputation, the influence that we have on people's lives, which honestly is not really a change because again, we talk about me, you talk about Jesus and stuff a lot. Jesus wasn't the wealthiest person on the human planet. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the wealthiest person in any means, period. But this dude couldn't ask for something that his 12 disciples and Mary didn't try to do for him. So it's like if you have the wealth of 12 other people and you don't have the pocket for yourself, but you can ask these people for anything and they'll do it for you, is that not wealth?
Mm-hmm.
So if we really didn't change from that aspect then, and all we did was trying to dress it up with like money or time or make people fear, you don't have that much time, you don't have that much time, you have to do this and the third. It's just like, okay, if you're gonna do that, accept that that is the frequency you're moving on. And if you accept that
Mm-hmm.
frequency, then there is way again, when you talk about that, there's so many self-help books. I literally found one the other day, project management, and how to save your time, how to invest your money, and how to save time. There's so many people who are on the same frequency as you that will tell you how to survive that frequency. But if you are tapped in, and I don't know, Mick, I know me, your spiritual journeys are different, but we came back to the same spiritual understanding in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get this far to understand that spirituality and stuff and all this stuff is like expressions and finite and stuff like that, then you owe it to yourself to not be so selective. You owe it to yourself to figure out the divinity in everything. Like you
Yeah.
said, we found out in relationships, we found out through our families, we found out through whatever. But then it's just like, okay, what am I rushing for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is really the flow of time? Am I really always on time? Or am I making my reality? Is it that I'm always on time until I tell someone I'm going to be there on a certain time? And now it's a
Mm-hmm.
contract, it's a spiritual contract. I told you I'd be there at that time, and you held me to that. But
Mm.
if I didn't say that and I say, hey, listen, we just gonna meet up. How do you know if I wasn't talking 20 years down the road? We just gonna meet up. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, because you're not putting the thing on it. And that's what I mean. We are such divine creatures. We literally make our reality unfold in real time. And I don't think religion does this is why religion is kind of breaking down. I saw it in the
Yeah.
episode as well. It's breaking down because people are starting to understand that you can't be selectively spiritual. You can't sit here and teach people these spiritual things. Like you said, identity. Do you know how many coaches, Mick? And I'm hypercritical of our space because we have to be. But it's just like so many coaches that I'll see that will sit here and know identity and transform my identity is some of the most vulnerable people you get. Like
Mm-hmm.
you basically get them as babies. You basically get them as like they're coming out of a womb. And they're just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you tell me who I am. And I was just like, oh no, no. So imagine it's me and you, right? And the same person comes up to both of us and says, Amickoleh Arianna, I want you to tell me who I am. And you make say, hey, listen, well, you are who you are. And I'm just here to guide you to who yourself. And let's just say I'm the one in the darkness. I'm the one who is on the ego trip and on the power trip. And I say, oh, you know who you're meant to be? You're meant to be my servant. And God brought you to me to serve me and kiss my feet. Doesn't that person become the product of that vulnerability, that access to them? Of
Mm-hmm.
course they do. And I've seen so many coaches take advantage of that because that is the power that we're working with people. They're coming,
Mm.
they're coming in identity crisis. They're coming wanting to know the true power of what they are. And again, the chaos that exists in that space is that people are sitting here playing coaches, but really being hurt
Mm-hmm.
people. And really being the people who are just like, no, I just want servants and I just want people who are going to acknowledge me and I just want people who are going to kiss my feet and tell me how pretty I am and how successful I am and how handsome I am and how I have access to this and how rich I am there. It's like, what the hell do I have to do with anything? You're meeting people at a spiritual deficit, like you're meeting people where it's just like they are literally, you can say one word and that take them over.
Mm.
And it's in that power and it's in that thing that I say, like, I know I feel it in my spirit that this is the thing that's needed. But where we talk about our fight and the people who are again who are just hurting, because at this point in time, it's like you can't really say you have an enemy at this point. The people who
Yeah.
just you not doing anybody a favor, including yourself, is when you come into these spaces with people who are so vulnerable, so transparent, so translucent, so see-through and you can see them, you can see their pain, you can see their heartache, the betrayal, the letdown, the disappointment, the agony,
Mm-hmm.
the suffering, as you say, even if it was self-afflicted or not. You can see all the things and they're willing to get right. And the only thing you could do is see how they could work for you. Oh yeah, you saw an identity crisis. Let me make you worship Jesus. What if they don't even aspire to Jesus? Like it's just like, why would Jesus even be the most important thing right now? When this person don't even know the value of their own name, you want them to know the value of somebody else? I can't say, hey, Amickoleh, do you know how powerful that name is? Do you know at any time past your adulthood, you can change your name? You can change your name anytime you want. And you want me to sit here and tell you, hey, listen, while you can't give value to your own name, I have you worship Jesus Christ. I'm gonna have you worship Lucifer. You want me to expect to think that you're gonna give value to someone else's name? You can't give value to your own. And that is where religion and spirituality and I see it breaking down and it's one of those things where it's like if we're not careful there has to be a mentorship, there has to be a guide,
Mm-hmm.
but it cannot be taken to the point where people are using it for a detriment of society. And that is where we're in this spiritual flux. So when you talk about identity reinvention, Mick, not only do I feel that it's a thing that as we're going into emotional intelligence, something that again, if people come into our sphere in our space, if they learn something for our sphere in our space, we're grateful. But
Yeah.
don't ever let, again, it's the same thing going back to what you were saying. Don't ever love something to the point of losing yourself. Don't ever put something so far beyond yourself that you become the darkness.
Mm.
You lose your form, you lose your void. You have to learn to balance stuff out. Learn physical attachment. A very healthy spiritual knowledge is knowing physically that nothing's going to stay
Yeah.
because you don't have anything. You come alone. You come by yourself. The only people that you really need to think really all the time is your parents. Because we don't have humans that self-make each other anymore, or at least at least not yet. So we don't have hermaphrodites yet. We don't do all that stuff yet. But we don't manifest that. It takes two of us to come together, which I also think
Mm-hmm.
is a very beautiful thing as well. But after that, you have to acknowledge that you are by yourself the most powerful thing you will ever be.
Mm.
Period.
Yep.
Period. And everything else is either going to guide you to your most powerful self or completely destroy you. But as me and you know in spiritual stuff, you're only being destroyed in learning the lesson. Because the minute you want to stop being destroyed, you will. And I could say that for all of humanity. The minute that humanity wants to stop destroying itself, it can. It's not like we don't know how not to do it. It's like we
Right.
recognize on how not to do it. But we live in a fear. We live in insecurity. We live in jealousy. We live in all these things where it's just like, hey, listen, the minute that humanity wants to sit here and get it together, it's going to get it together. And the time is coming. The time is coming where people just get tired. They get tired of these same things over and over again because whether it's individually or looking at it esoterically or outside of
Mm-hmm.
yourself, the tired energy is the same. Because, like, man, I'm
It
not
is.
punching you in the face for real, but I'm punching myself at home. And it's just like, because again, the fight is internal. The fight is internal. So, identity reinvention, as you're saying, and something that you've even helped me with in, again, when your intuition call, make it really do. Because I can't tell you guys enough how many times Mickey has called me on the spot, almost like we had a spiritual conversation, and she literally was just like, "Oh, girl, I forgot. We don't live in that time yet. We can't just sit here and like, let me call you real quick." And it's just like you call me on the phone, and it's just like, man, you remember a time where it's just like we used to just think and be able to
Mm.
have a whole conversation with each other. It
In our
just
past lives.
listen with no technology, girl, with no clumsy phone, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, that's my little how they say deterring of for the episode. Where it's like, "Oh, there was a time with no phones." It's like, yeah, there was a time where humans used to be able to telepathy. Like, I don't know if it's in the future or in the past, but
I
we
think it's in the future, to be honest. Like it's like when we, I think honestly, I think there's a level of heart coherency because the thing is, the heart,
yeah,
the electromagnetic frequency of the heart
it's
is
40 times,
stronger than the brain.
40
And I
times.
think when
Yeah.
people are able to get more dialed into their heart and listening, we say listening to your heart, and that, like we say all these things, love, listening to your heart, and
They made it
it's
so
we,
cliche, girl. It's the men.
yeah, they made it sound so cliche,
Sorry,
but that's
sorry, man. I love you,
literally
men.
what
Like
it is.
y'all make love seem so corny. Only women can, only female in the feminine energy can make love feel like a superpower. Like it's just like, but men be making it sound so corny. Like, oh, follow your heart, bump that. It's like, no, no, no. That
Like
saved you a couple
that's the
times.
medicine.
Where you think prayer
Yes.
come from? Prayer come from the heart. It don't come from the mind. Nothing in the mind will tell you thinking about somebody really hard is gonna save their life for real. Nothing in your mind. Your mind will sit here and look at you like you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like who you praying to? Angels. It's like we ain't see no angels in here. Who you praying to? And it's
Hmm.
just like I know in my heart, I feel them. I feel
The
these
heart,
entities
yeah.
around me, and I'm sending my angels. I'm sending my spiritual team to go and protect that dude before he sit here and make a whole mockery. Like that's what I'm basically doing. But
Hmm.
it's true. Yeah, the
Hmm.
heart electromagnetic energy is 40 times greater. And the coherence, like we used to be able to do that. But like you said, if you think it's in the future, I'm with you.
I do. I think it's in the future. I think well, okay, so I guess to be clear, maybe perhaps it is in the past. I feel like it's another dimension of communication. That's what I feel
Yeah,
like. And
yeah,
so that
I
could,
agree.
I
Yeah,
supposedly guess that could be in the past if we're coming from another lifetime. That could be that's our personal past. Doesn't
yeah,
mean that
yeah,
it's the
that's true.
collective past, right? So I think there's like a little bit of yeah. I think it's like
It's
kind
like
of
it's like
a
it's like
a
um
liminal,
it's
liminal
like
kind
the
of a
infinity,
thing.
but maybe another layer.
Hmm.
Like it's like the other
Hmm.
dimension, like you're saying. It's like we lived it before, and then because of that, we have the memory of before. But it's
Yeah,
our
and we're going to eventually get there again.
yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
get there again
Yeah.
because we
I
remember it.
think it's possible. I mean, it already we already do, like you said. Just when someone comes into your heart and you feel called to reach out to them, you're like, "Oh my gosh,
When
she's
they
about to
call
text
you,
me. I was
you just
just
like,
thinking about
dang, man,
you."
how did that?
I think that's like a layer of. I think that's a component of it. I
Yeah,
do.
yeah. No, I completely agree with you because people, again, and this is the stuff that I love to talk to physicists and stuff about because I'm just like, you guys know how improbable things are. Like,
Mm,
you know how slim it is that someone be thinking about someone in that exact same moment they get called by that exact same person. It doesn't matter how many, and the person knows why you called them. They know exactly why they got called to you. So it's just like, what physicalness can explain that? It's like, yeah,
mhm,
science will have a way to explain it, but science will only explain it when you start to tap into the heart more. When you start doing the sciences around the heart. And it's just like, oh, yeah, yeah, no, people can feel the energy so bad. Like you can love someone so much as you save their life just by
mhm,
praying over them, just by feeling abundance of love over them. You're just like, man, I felt like you protected me a couple times.
mhm,
And these are people, I'm telling you, these are people who would never, they don't believe in no angels, no demons, no spirituality, no nothing, but they can feel you when you're thinking about them when they're wondering whether to go right or left. They can hear you.
mhm,
It's like, well, how can I hear you thousands of miles away? How could I hear your voice thousands of miles away? How can I
mm,
feel you walking with me when you're physically not here? It's like
mhm,
you can do that. And that's what I
mhm.
mean by I don't think humanity right now, and that's why I feel like again, and I love having these conversations with you because as much as I could sit here and be like, man, why the heck humanity isn't here yet? I kind of understand that we're in a place where we get to see it unfold. And I think that's the
Yes.
beauty of it. It's just like,
And that's part of our work. God's like, girl, I didn't send y'all down there for it to be done for you. Y'all gotta do this. This what you here for.
somewhere in this timeline, I need to just come back as one of the children who just gets to enjoy all this. Like honestly, I just need to see. Like I need to. I'm gonna ask the universe for two things, and I hope you give it to me. Number one, that by the time all this work is done, I remember what I contributed
Mm,
to it. And number two,
amen.
I come back as a child just to enjoy one life. So
Mm,
we're just like, oh, we sitting here like flying? Like that's amazing. Like I could will
mhm.
myself to fly. Like that's great. Like we literally the superheroes that we talk about. Like I would love to experience that, but I do know that if I do my work, then one iteration of me will, right? So it's
Yes.
like I'll live
Ooh,
through
I
that.
love that. And what a powerful sentiment that is. If I do my work. It's literally like, it's like they say if you're a part of a community or a village, like everybody has their work. Whether you're going to fetch the pail of water, whether you're going to go get the sticks for the fire tonight, whether you're going to go get the food, you're hunting, you're harvesting, whatever the case may be, everybody has to pull their weight to some
Everybody
level or
has to
degree.
pull
And
their
it's like
weight.
the same thing on a cosmic scale too. I think about it too, like, because I do have connections to like different past lives. I do my best to try to remember, like, there are people in other lifetimes and dimensions that are like rooting for me and cheering for me, and they're watching me play out on this like universal field, if you will,
Yeah, yeah.
and like hoping, and maybe like they didn't have the guts, quote unquote. Like I honestly look at it as like being in an arena, and it's like they're the people who
Mhm.
like one day wish they're like, oh man, one day I'll be able to like reincarnate, and like I'll be able to like go on Earth, and like I'll be able to do cool things, whatever,
Yeah.
right? And then there's people who are just like watching us and cheering for us, and it's like, oh my god, like, I hope she makes it through this challenge. I hope she does this,
Yeah,
that, and that. I hope she
they
gets.
just eating the popcorn and enjoying the chili dog. Like they're not sitting here trying to do all that. Like they're just like, yo,
Mhm.
I could enjoy the play. Like I
Mhm.
could come in and buy the ticket and just watch.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
there's a healer that I follow that says that. They're like, if you think you came to Earth because this was like an easy assignment, they're like, this is one of the hardest assignments of the soul to like move through. Is like the human experience. Like
The very conscious
this
ones,
is where you
yeah.
like this is game time. You know what I mean? And I do my best to remember that, because you can this planet, God, if you don't stay on your spiritual P's and Q's and stay sharp, it will overcome you, for whether it's a spell or a second or whatever the case may be. And you will, that's why I love this show, that you and I feel both so aligned about the Order of Remembrance, because it is a practice of remembering. We have
Absolutely.
to remember these things.
All praises. We have to. And it's a duty because even when you said that, Mick, the reason why I'm having chills now, my hair is standing up, is because when we were talking about suffering, I told you I'm working on this concept. I don't know how humanity's going to take it because then, I know the darkness that comes with what I'm saying. But I'm
Mm,
saying that the reason why I know humanity can get past this is because the suffering that we take on as humans is already innate. We are born
mm,
finite. The only thing we need to know is that one day, we don't know when it comes or when it comes or how it's going to come. We all leave each other. We all are temporary. That's the only suffering you really need to know. We all age. It is not something that
mm,
humanity wills on itself. It's like no matter how much I fight aging, I will age. No matter how much I try to sit here and say I'm going to be young forever. It's like I didn't make that concept. I was born
mhm,
into that system. So if suffering, or if we change perspective of suffering and we say suffering is built in, right? And it's built into loss. We all are going to lose each other. We are all temporary. Then everything else is voluntary. Everything else is
mm,
something that we decide to make humanity experience. And then you have to wonder why.
mm,
Why do we let disease happen? Do we let disease happen? Do we let it do, oh yeah, that little kid just died of leukemia. Okay, we didn't know leukemia existed before. So now because there is a kid who died from leukemia, there's maybe 30 doctors who work on curing leukemia, but we didn't know leukemia before it existed. We never knew
mhm,
these things. So now as they come out, they do that. But the reason why I got chills is because it's the same way I think with when you say remembering that not only are we finite creatures, but remembering the divinity we hold within being finite, because there's so much when and you might have to retouch on me. You said something at the end when you said that I lost my train of thought. The birdie flew away. When you
mm.
what was the last sentence you said, Mick? When you
Oh, like having the human experience isn't
yes.
like it isn't easy. Like
Yes.
you don't come here because this is easy and like,
I
oh
mean,
yeah, this is gonna be
it's
easy.
an assignment, right?
Right.
And this is what I mean with us building, Mick, we'd even have to come alone. I can only
Mm-hmm.
imagine, and I read origin stories a lot from different religions. I can only imagine how hard it was to be the first humans here. Like the first
Mm,
two, like it's just like if you knew that you would be the parents for billions, if not trillions of people that come after you, a whole species to come after you, it's like you don't even have to it goes back to when you're saying like everyone has something that they can contribute. This is when I go back to the intrinsic value. You don't have to wait for humanity to do that. You were born into a species that depends on you.
mm,
You were born into a family of a species. You're not the first of your kind. You were born in 8 billion people. Like it's just like you have 8 billion siblings next to you walking
mm,
around with you. So you don't have to go through this alone. I don't even know if this is true, and I'm just throwing it up there. But I'm pretty sure somewhere in the cosmos there's a species that just got born. And they're the
Mm,
only one there of their own family. They're the only one. It's just like they can never look to the right or left and go like, man, there's another one of me. It's like you are the only one there. So imagine being born in a time and space where it's like you're not even the first of your kind. You were
mm,
born into a family, into a collective, to where you can figure it out together. You don't have to be alone if you don't want to be alone.
mm,
It's such a blessing because it's not, again, it's something that me and you think on a spiritual level you choose. But let's just say you're kind of like not there and you're just like, well, why was I born a human? It's like probably not to do it alone. Probably because we
mm,
knew how difficult this was and we knew that we would need each other. Maybe it's as simple as that. And I feel like, again, that's why I feel like religion kind of contorts it and makes it overcomplicated. But I think a lot of lives' truths are very simple. And it's like, yo, even if you're fan, and me, you know this about the blood is not thicker than water type of thing, right?
mm,
Listen, you can make family with all of humanity. You are blessed to come through your line because there's certain things that only your genes pass down. However, you were born into a collective family. They said that the human DNA is only different by 0.9%.
mm,
99.1% of all humans are the same. It's only 0.9% that gives us our different melanin, hair types, eye colors, fingernails, all the other stuff.
mm.
Humans are like 99.1% in our DNA. So can you imagine that? All the different cultures, languages, ethnicities, race, if you want to start, believing in that concept, or if you how you say, accept it or not.
Mhm,
All these things came from 0.9% of what humanity is. So then don't sit here and look at me like I'm crazy when I say we have way more in common than what we have in different. We're really
mhm.
over a 0.9% difference. Zero point 0.9. Are you kidding me? And then we're sitting here and wondering why we're feeling so alone because you, again, you're not taking the blessing for what it is. You were not even made alone. You could have been the first human here. You could have been with Adam or you could have been with Eve trying to figure it out like, man, how are we even going to do this? What is this? How do we really fathom it? Or if you want to believe in Lilith, Adam cast out Lilith. So it's like, so you're sitting here going, man, Lilith, not you. You kind of messed me up for real. I want Eve. And it's just like, okay. So can you imagine what Lilith must have felt being rejected by the first man on earth? It's like, and then y'all wonder why women became evil? It's just like,
That's actually part of the work that I've been really interested in is reclaiming the dark feminine and like integrating
yes.
that because I feel like that is a big piece of our power too. That is
It's basically the F around and find
missing.
out.
If you will. Yeah.
That's what the dark feminine is the F around and find out. And the thing about femininity that I love is that if a female taps into her dark spirit, she never has to get her hands dirty because we are the spiritual house. So this is why, again, and remember me and you talked about this, I think in the first episode, when we talked about
Mhm.
the witches and the Salem witch
Mhm.
trials and all that other stuff, the reason why they came after feminists, I think it's an ancient truth and an ancient knowledge that we all knew the feminine energy was the closest things to the divine. So if you
Mm.
female angry. What they say in Greek, that was like the chaos behind is two females in
Mhm.
the same house, right? That is the
Right.
symbol of chaos. It's like if you have women who are angry with you, we don't even have to use our hands. We don't even have to use our hands. We can sit here and go like, oh yeah, I wonder why he caught a heart attack. Yeah, I wonder that. Like when and I'll bring up something because RIP to Kevin Samuels. But this is what I meant when I try to tell
Who's
men
Kevin
this.
Samuels?
Kevin Samuels was a man who basically got into a bad light because he was basically doing he was a image consultant and he basically was in the start of Red Pill, and Red Pill is this movement where like men are trying to find their voices in social media and they're
Mm.
basically trying to have their own space in it, right? So Red Pill comes along, it basically is trying to tell men how to focus their energies inward, which I think is a great message in its most general form. But the
Mhm.
red pill comes from the matrix. Like if you take the blue pill or the red,
Uh-huh. Okay.
so that's what they called it. They call themselves a red pill community. And Kevin Samuels was like the godfather of that community. Like I don't think he
Hmm.
called himself that. He didn't self-title himself. But a lot of people say that he's the start, one of the starts of that big community. And what ended up happening was that he was talking in truth, by the way, he was talking about how men see women and how men do see women, he called it like sexual market value or something like that, and how
Hmm.
men basically see you as being young, impressionable, someone who can serve them. They don't care about your degrees, they don't care about how smart you are, they just care that you are there for them in the feminine energy. Everything else is irrelevant. But what I stressed to people during the time was that number one, if you cannot take the truth that he's saying to you, that means it's not for you, and do not be around the same thing that we talked about just now.
Mhm.
Do not be around someone to where they turn you into hatred because then all of humanity loses. If you don't like what Kevin Samuel's saying, just turn him off. We all
Mm-hmm.
have that power. You don't have to sit here and listen to him. But basically, he garners so much hate from women. And I'm bringing this back to Dark Feminine. He brought so much hate from women to where he was calling women like sevens and sixes. He was saying that they were fat and overweight. They were saying like, well, you're ugly, so you will never get a man because you want this man.
Oh,
And
no.
from sisters, because I have to say that some of the points he was saying was accurate. Some of these sisters would like want like very, very like delusional things. Like I want an eight-figure man who's fit and does all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, but you can't care so much about physical things and you not be the same type that you're
Mm-hmm.
looking to attract. That doesn't make any sense. You want something better than what you're giving yourself, which is not fair to whoever you're bringing into your circle.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin said it so carelessly, like he was very reckless, basically. And he was so reckless in his words that the way he perished, I never saw, other than Andrew Tate. So Andrew Tate is like the second Kevin Samuels. He's like the second coming. Kevin Samuels was the first. When I tell you there was not a dark feminine movement I saw like that, the way that women prayed for this man's downfall and the
Mm.
way he died, and the way everyone knew it was coming, because not because people would, he didn't get physically shot, like he didn't like get killed. This dude caught a heart attack. The amount of energy, negative energy, you had hate groups of women coming into, and me and you, Mick, we sisters. You got a
Mm-hmm.
whole group of sisters that pray for your downfall. You don't know what spirits you conjuring. And they will sit there with a task, almost like angels were made with function. They will sit there with a task and they will go and destroy whatever you're talking about. This dude,
Mm.
I saw hate groups of women that for the life of me, and this is what I love why me and you do. I never saw that on the opposite side. I was just like, man, why can't sisters get together like this and pray for all the love of humanity and pray for everyone to solve world hunger? But
Right.
they hated this man so much that there was hate groups where they were sitting there. I'm talking Mickey, more than whatever group we talking about. 30, 40, 50, 60 women, all with the intent of hating this one man. And when I mean
Wow.
hating him, I mean wanting him off the earth. Not like I hated him, like, man, I can't stand him. He's so annoying. Like, no, I hope he take a bullet. I hope he get hit. I hope he do something. And they're festering in this energy. And I'm just like, man, if Kevin Samuels don't watch out, 2 weeks after I said that, 2 weeks after I said that, I was like, he caught a heart attack in the most, I think it's ironic because he caught a heart attack with a female nurse who was
Hmm.
not the image of the woman he was claiming that would be like not his type. He basically caught a heart attack being in romantic relationships with a woman who was impressionable, young. He was very, very against body work, had body work
Hmm.
done and everything. Allegedly, I have to put that in there, but allegedly. But when you look at her, she's a young girl who had some work done and stuff like that. She's a nurse. She actually just finished nursing school or something like that, and he died with a heart attack with her.
Hmm.
And the only thing people did when he died was celebrate. Those women celebrated. I never saw. It's like you had a parade in the streets. They thought he was their worst enemy. And I'm just
Hmm.
and I'm wrapping this back up to dark femininity to say, I feel like even as females, we have an accountability. Because I hate this is one thing that I have a pet peeve for. I hate when women get together to gossip and talk shit more than what they
Hmm.
get together to praise and to worship and to acknowledge and to be great. And I'm not talking about just
Right.
to kiss someone's ass. I'm not talking to kiss each other's ass. I'm talking about, hey, listen, let's really get together and let's love this community back to health. Let's get
Hmm.
together and go into an impoverished country and pray this country back. Like, let's do
Hmm.
that. But we know our power though, because whenever I've seen women back together to start hating on people so much, they tap into it's such a thing where it's just like you have to sit there and witness, be like, man, y'all know y'all power, but for all the wrong reasons. Y'all tap into your power, but only when you're here to destroy everybody. Why can't you do it the opposite way? It's just a choice.
Hmm.
And I realized that with dark feminine energy, it's like dark feminine energy is a thing where it's like it's so powerful and it does have its place, like you're saying, like Lilith in
Hmm.
them, right? Like
Hmm.
it's that femme fatale energy, like the one,
Yeah.
yeah, like you walk into a room and everyone know you bad, and it's
Yeah.
yes, that's great and all, but you do understand that it also comes from an egotistical place. That comes from a place where it's just like, who are you looking to be all that for? The
Well,
strong.
but I think that depends because it
Yeah,
sounds like what I was taking away from that story is that those women that were so invested in this person's downfall, they they got my perception is
Mhm.
that they got their value from a man. It may not have been that man
Yes,
in
yes, yeah,
particular, but
yeah,
that's where they would find value. So to hear someone saying that they are invaluable in the way that they are, that's where it's like that's where they would go to put their energy, right? But if
yeah.
because if you knew the like you and I, for example, like I would listen to something like that, I'd be like, what? Like you said,
Yeah,
turn
like
that
you
off.
don't
Like I
want to
don't
like,
want to
take it
listen to
personal,
that.
just like, yeah,
'Cause I don't get although I do I want a relationship and I want, of course, all these things and am I, open to meeting my person? Absolutely, but I don't inherently get my value from being of value in that way or like getting validated in that way.
yeah,
So I feel like in that regard, it's an unconscious thing because you can be unconscious and be holier than thou and be a goody 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 two shoes, and that typically also means you're very naive because you're so trusting and you're so like blinded by everyone's light. It's like you're
yeah.
missing those darker aspects and
Undertones
components
and
because
different
you're not
aspects.
you're
Yeah,
not educated what that looks like and what that yields. So I
absolutely.
feel like and like it's a spectrum thing, and so it's being able to, like we were saying earlier, dance with both energies and being able to understand, and that typically comes with lessons and experiences, right? That's where we're able to gain this wisdom and be like, oh, okay, I thought that like if I was just such a goody 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 that like a man would come and sweep me off my feet and cherish me and value me, but like you said earlier in the example, but I got the one that was the most daggum, what do they call it? Narcissistic, the most selfish, the most
Yeah,
complete opposite of the
yeah.
love that I was looking to give out, right? And so I think there is a balance of being able to understand these energies and
Yeah,
when do
and
I
the
when
power
do I
behind it.
harness light and then when do I harness more of those shadowy aspects because I've learned and I allowed myself to be naive and I allowed myself to be ignorant and then I had to learn my lesson right
It's true.
and smart real quick, right?
Yeah,
And so, yeah, I think it's just like how much and it also goes back to that Native American
book, the
uh
Dancing Wolves, Walking.
yeah, with the 2 wolves, it's like, which one are you feeding, right? And that's a big, huge thing about perspective. It's like, well, where are you putting your focus to? If you're putting
Yeah,
your focus on how this person's speaking so negatively and da 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 da, and what they're doing, what they're
you're
saying
gonna use your
because it's
power for something that, yeah. And that's what, and I couldn't agree with you more because that's what I think that we have. Again, I don't know how we tackle it. Again, I can only tackle it in a way that I do. So I tend to gaze more towards adults who kind of know that they're powerful, but might not know how to tap in. But it's just like
mhm,
there's nothing that saddens me more than people who don't remember how powerful they are. And then by the time they even get a glimpse of what their power is, it's for the wrong reason. And I think that
mhm,
that is the thing where I'm talking about with the dark feminine. It's just like you, yes, acknowledge that you are both light and dark. There is a dark female and a light female, absolutely. But to acknowledge both and then choose one or the other is where true power comes from. Because I could never sit here and look at the people who, again, the women who did that campaign, they know their spiritual energy. They knew they could pray someone to death. I think
mhm,
anyone who's really tapped into spirituality knows that you can curse someone. Everyone who's tapped into spirituality knows that you can speak. Again, life and death is in the power of the tongue. A lot of religions say that, not just the Bible, not just Christianity. A lot of religions say that you can speak death into someone, you can speak their life. And even in our judicial system, we do 300 and 400 years. Why? Because we even look to punish or to keep people to account well after this life is over. So we are tapped in some ways, even if people don't want to acknowledge it for whatever, like you said, even if it's naivety, innocence, whatever the case may be. But when you know how powerful you are, I think where the darkness comes in for me and the stuff that I look to tackle is that when you see the potential and you see the power of everybody and making sure that by the time they experience that power, it's not doing something that they have to regret. Because by the time you
mhm,
pray for someone's death, you do know karma is a thing. And you partake in that somehow, even if it was you praying to an altar, even if it was just you praying and wishing. It's just like, yo, when it happened, you don't think you get a piece of that? Energy is only transferred. So all that hate made that man die. So where in your cosmic universe, what's your stock in that?
mhm.
Because even if you say it's 0.1%, you don't know what the universe is going to pay you with that 0.1%. 0.1% for
Hello.
you could be you losing your house. 0.1% for you could be you losing your child. 0.1%
Yeah.
could be for you get your mother and dad get into an accident. That could be 0.1% for you, because you don't know that
You
justice. You
never
don't
know how you have to pay it back. Yeah.
never know that. And that's what I mean by it's such, like you said, like the femme fatale and stuff in us And that's why I think the transition is great, right? Because now we're able to tell people that this physicality, this stuff, there has to be a balance to it. You cannot
Mhm.
let it change your spirit and corrupt your spirit because we do come from love. If you are on the opposite side of that spectrum, you have a lot to answer for, and some people do not know what that is. They don't. And I think that's where religion has its place because, like they say, well, you have to believe in heaven, hell, and this and that. I was like, no, you don't need to believe in heaven, and hell. You need to believe that you're gonna come back, and you might be the child of the enemy that you made. And then it's just like, oh shoot, I made this karma for myself. It's like, yes, because you came back. And that's why when I was talking the episode about reincarnation, they was like, well, then what is life for? Like this man said, what is this life for? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like,
Mhm.
I think it's way more damning to know that if I didn't make sure that I could control what I could and pray about what I
Mhm.
couldn't, that I can come down 400 years into a line I've never known and it be the family that extended mine, the family that literally lived past mine, that I heard they mom. Don't y'all know that we fight in religions that are coming from people's parents?
Hmm.
Parents, we fight in Abraham War. Abraham was here 4,000 years ago. How do we even know what Abraham branched out to be? We don't even know. We are fighting, we are killing each other over family lines, and it's been like this from the beginning of time. So God forbid you come. I think that's worse than hell in heaven. God forbid you come back and you made your own hell because you sat here in a past life and made something hell for somebody else. God forbid, because you don't think it's going to happen to you. You think you can make hell for somebody and then you wiped away from all consequence. That's why I don't believe in the heaven and hell really, because it's too eternal and it's too it fights a couple spiritual concepts for
Like
me.
it bypasses.
Yeah, it
Like.
bypass. That's a perfect word. Thank you. It bypassed a
Mhm.
lot of spiritual truths for me. It's way more, I would say scary, yes, but it's way more scary but realistic to think, wow, heaven and hell really is going to come with how I treat people and how I treat this
Mhm.
planet. And if I come down 500 years, what kind of life can I give myself 500 years later? What kind of life can I give
Mm.
myself 1,000 years later? Do I want my life to be hell on earth or do I want it to be heaven? And it
Mm.
makes me accountable years after centuries after my life is over. It
I
makes me
love that you're saying this because to me, I feel like it's bringing weight and groundedness and context. So, ironically enough, what we started the conversation with was around this idea of depression and
yes,
feeling so
valueless.
yes, feeling so lost of your center, lost of your ground, and trying to and just feeling really wayward emotionally.
Mhm.
And you have this second, whether it lasts for a day or 3 days or a week or a month, where nothing feels like it matters. And it's because, and this is also what I'm taking from Guillaume's
Mhm.
podcast interview that I just recently listened to. He's like, when
I'll put
you,
it on
and
the
he
link
didn't
on our
put,
site if you guys could tap in.
yeah, he
But
wasn't necessarily specifically talking about depression, but I feel like he was talking about that narrowness, that finiteness, and I feel like that is a really big proponent of depression because you're so zeroed in, and you're so can only focus on what is happening for you in that moment. Valid enough because you're like literally you're in this fight or flight, you're in survival mode, so you only have the capacity to think about yourself, but you completely negate the potential of what happens beyond this experience and just like at least I know for me in my experience it's like oh all that shit is null and void. You talk about lifetimes from now and infinity and I'm trying to figure out what the hell is happening right this second. You want me to think about me my soul 100 years from now? But again it's like falling in that being aware of that trap of time and how it's been sold to us in the 3D
yes.
realm
Yep.
where you feel hopeless in that
The
moment
lie
and
is the trap.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And
No,
so
I'm with
just
you 100
being
times.
able to expand our consciousness and seeing beyond this lifetime, there's so much liberation and sovereignty. And even you've talked with me about this of like making your days count, right? And so it's not to say like, okay, well, we just kind of like, do whatever and we just watch TV all day, we just go hang outside and don't do nothing. It's not that, but it's understanding that like there's time to rest and leisure and play and and all of that, and then there's time to really be about your mission and to really be focused and taking action. And I think there's no like I think we can try all the productivity hacks we want to, but at the end of the day I really think it just comes down to listening to what feels innate and true for us in that moment. Do I need to actually go soften and rest and play and like expand my mind a little bit before I go tackle this assignment? Or do I really need to hold myself accountable and just put 15 minutes on the clock and just sit down and write the thing? You know, it's like we have to understand like where our I think it comes down where what are we attempting to avoid or run away from? What
Mm,
aspects of ourselves are we afraid to meet and
dig in.
connect
And that
with
goes back to
through this?
your dark feminine. It's like
Mhm.
acknowledging that yes, you do have a power that's supposed to scare you. You do have a power in you that's just like, yo, man, I could wreck universes, I could wreck cosmos.
Mhm.
And it's just like, yes, but will you choose to do so? Will you choose? Because that is where we're here. We're here because and that's why I said I think spirituality and finite expressions they marry. It's like, so
Mm.
the reason why I believe in remembering and us being sovereign creatures is because I do believe that everyone who's here chose to be here. I don't
Mhm.
believe there's not one wasted soul. I don't believe in that. I don't aspire to.
Mm.
And being a mom of miscarried children, one of the truths that got me kind of through that depression was that I knew that if I could not make the body for that spirit, that that spirit was going to come anyway. Because if it was supposed to
Mm.
come, it's going to come. It just means it couldn't come through me. But the spirit is something I don't make. I don't make my daughter's spirit. I don't make my son's spirit. So any other children I would have, that's why I pray. I always tell people, I was like, hey, listen, I have two living children. I'm a mother of six. And what I do is
Wow.
I pray for wherever their souls landed, because it means that they were meant to come, wherever their souls landed, that they have a peace and a love. And they're in a family full of loving because I'm their spiritual mom. I'm the
Mm.
spiritual mother. I was pregnant with that life and I lost it. So, but that spirit was meant to come. So that means that spirit
Wow.
existed somewhere else. And it was and I say this to say like personal truths relating back to spiritual truths is that there is no such thing as waste in the universe. So going back to
Mm.
the point of depression, when you feel like you're wasteful, when you feel like you're sitting here and you're valueless, it's like you don't even live in a universe that there is waste. You don't even live in that. So that's what I mean by it being such a trap and such a lie.
Mhm.
It's the same thing with the dark feminine. Again, I agree with you. I think people should tap into both. You don't really know, and I find myself echoing this to clients and stuff too. Someone said in the episode, right? We were talking about LGBTQ, and it came about how Christianity takes on LGBTQ, and I said it's a very big talking point that Christianity is going to have to figure out how to evolve to. And they're coming out with this identity, and you have to accept that because they're also expressions of source. You can't just ignore them. And the
Mhm.
thing that came up was that, and they said, "Well, what's your problem with it?" I was like, "My problem is not homosexual people or lesbians. My problem is the study they found that most people are gay and lesbian from trauma." And I don't believe in powerless choice. If you're
Mhm.
going to choose to be, it's the same way how I don't believe in when you fall in love, you're naive. But when you
Mhm.
really pick a love that lasts, you choose it. It's like that.
Mhm.
It's like if you're going to be in that sexual orientation, I would rather you know your person. And I would rather you say, hey, listen, this is not from me coming from an abusive household or a drug-filled household or my dad leaving my mom or my mom beating me or anything like that. This came from me really being in love with this person. And I have
Mhm.
no trauma. I have no backstory. This is me just loving this person. Then I could back that 110% because I know that those people exist. The problem for me was always the correlation of that. And it always stems down back to me to, are you doing things with the power of knowing you chose it? Or are you
Mm.
doing something else? No matter if it's a concept, no matter if it's your past, no matter if it's you, no matter if it's someone else, are you letting something else take your power? And we're so caught up in this 3D that I think we give away our power even unintentionally. Because when you think about
Mhm.
power and the way society works, the reason why people come after children is because we know them to be the most powerful things in existence. Children, before they were born, the second before my children was born, they was with source. They
Mhm.
are the most powerful when they leave. They are the most connected. We are the most connected when we come out the womb. That's the most connected we are. And we again, we spend our adulthood going like, wow, yeah, I really just lived in society, but wow, all the lies and stuff I got fed only to realize that I knew everything from the beginning. It's like, yeah, she did. That's why kids are the ones that are the most inventive, the most creative, the most like, oh yeah, I could fly, I could do this, I could do that. It's like, no, you can't.
Mhm.
You're still human. You can't jump off a roof and fly. Yes, yes. One of these days you're gonna be able to do it. Maybe you're the one to help us figure out how to do that again.
Mhm.
When we look at children, the reason why they come after children is because of that. It's like, yo, you are innocent in your power. You are the most powerful human that we've ever known. You are youth, right? Everyone tries
Mm.
to get back to youth. You are youth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to siphon your power. And we do have people who try to siphon the power away. We
Mm-hmm.
do have those people. Now, mind you, they're not to be damned because anyone who siphons power away, you have to feel like it's pretty insecure, feel
Mm-hmm.
pretty powerless, they're hurting, right? But that still doesn't stop the action. You're still siphoning this power away from people and they never get to acknowledge it for themselves. And by the time they acknowledge it for themselves, they feel like they got lied to. They feel like all humanity is out to get them. They feel like they can't trust nobody. So you don't do anyone a favor in that way. So when we're talking about the LGBTQ thing, the reason why I full circle it back to knowing the choice is because my problem has always been the bully. That has always been my biggest problem. I was like, if you are going to sit here and choose your life, then you are the accountability person for your life, and you're going to take all the consequences too.
Mm.
You're going to take all the consequences for it. So I don't care who you love. I don't care what you love. I don't care any of this stuff. But I do want you to realize that this is a power of choice. And you only know the power you have when you know you can do what? You can have the dark and the light, but you choose
Mm-hmm.
light. You choose that. Because if anything, is that not just naivety? If all you knew
Mm-hmm.
was light your whole life and you choose light, when people look at you going, well, you only chose light because you was born in it. Like you didn't really choose it. You know what I mean? It's like you were forced to
Mm-hmm.
choose it because it's the only option. But when you know that, oh wow, evil and good come down to a choice. My yin and my yang
Mm-hmm.
comes down to a choice, which is why there's a thin line that no one can explain and tell. It's like because that's how delicate it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're supposed to
And
be
learning how to
delicate.
harness, I think that's where, you talk about learning yourself and understanding the lesson that you choose to give yourself and that you repeat, it can be so frustrating and it's like, but it's
Yes, it
like, I
can.
think the
It can for
message
sure.
too is still like, okay, well, how do I still harness this experience, harness this darkness, harness this frustration, and like you said,
It work
choose
for you.
light and make it work for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's where your friends and stuff come in because I again, I can sit here and I'm open to the conversation, but I have a hard time being convinced that source, no matter what you call it, it wasn't love first. I have a hard
Hmm.
time believing in that because I do believe love is creation. And I believe
Hmm.
that source loved itself so much that it expressed itself
Yeah.
infinite amount of ways, an eternal amount of ways. It's just like we can never fathom, which is why even scientists come out and say, hey, listen, we only know 0.1% so far. We'll never know 100% of our creator. You know why? Because we chose to come down as an expression of it. You know when we learn the creator, when we accept every expression. We see the creator every day. We see it in the things that we don't make. We see it in the things that we will never make. I can never make a dog, but can I not enjoy a dog? I can enjoy a dog. Can I enjoy a cow? Can I choose not to eat meat or pray over meat? Yes, I can. I'm gonna pray over meat because I love my burger. But like, listen, I'm gonna pray over that cow because I have to worship the life that gave me life. So it's just like, hey, listen, I appreciate your life. Did I want you to enjoy the grass? And I want you to enjoy your children before you got in my belly? Absolutely. But I'm gonna sit here and chow down on the burger. I'm not gonna feel guilty about it. Because when I pass away, I want to be put back to the earth too. And someone
Mhm.
like Lion King, I want to go right back to the earth that I came from. I ate on y'all all my life. The only thing I think the old thing I owe back to you is my nutrients for real and some roots. Like I know that. But when we really look into our power of stuff, and guys, I'm sorry if y'all didn't know to be goofy. Mickey knows me to be goofy. But
Yeah.
um, if we really, really tap into our power, I think not only are these modalities going to be some of the most life-changing in a long time, and the things that really start to shape the world, and we will have to deal with the darkness of that because it's called spiritual manipulation and spiritual bypassing, as you said. It's like we have people who know this power, but they're choosing to deflect, they're choosing to distract, they're choosing to lie. And we have to come in and say, no, you should know this as a spiritual person that this doesn't serve you in the long run. And I
Hmm.
think that that's where we have a little bit of an anchor on people is that when you meet someone who's spiritually doing something, knowing their power, like, hey, listen, I'm spiritually going to be dark because I choose to be dark. It's like,
Hmm.
okay. But if we talk spirit to spirit, this isn't serving. So are you serving your flesh right now? Because
Hmm.
this doesn't serve anyone. And it comes back to you. So are you being spiritually selective? Are you spiritually choosing evil, but then thinking karma doesn't exist? Like what are you selective about right now? Because I have to wonder what, right? Because there's no way you get to be so spiritually in tune that you know that you can manipulate people or choose darkness, but then be spiritually ignorant. And the
Hmm.
only thing I could think is that those people who think that they can get away with this have to have some type of spiritual ignorance to it. Because when people are really smart in spirituality, people choose light knowing that it's the only thing that lives. And
Yeah.
people choose light knowing that we come from light. we come from love. So everything, as my father always said, and I'll leave with this because it's one of the most profound quotes I've heard. When my uncle was passing away last year, he thought my dad was quoting the Buddha because my dad said something to him that he always brought up. That my dad's theory is that we come back time and time again to learn how to love perfectly. And once we love
Mm.
perfectly, we're back with source. And we do it all. And even the reincarnation cycle is comes from us wanting to express our love to our creator. So we ask
Mm.
our creator, how do you want to love yourself today? And we come,
Yeah.
the source wants to love itself.
And that's interesting to say that because that's exactly that's the first thing that came to mind when you were talking about. I can't remember exactly how you worded, but you're more or less saying um, how source is love because source loved itself so much that it wanted to express itself. And the thought that I had when you said that was like the original form of self love. That is literally the original form of self love. And so we talk about, even like what I mentioned earlier about like finding the divine in these different relationships or the experiences that you felt like, damn, that didn't work out, or that fell flat, or, it was good for a while. And then what happened?
Mhm.
It's still being able to go back and look at, okay, but where did I meet the divine? Where did I feel the most connected to the divine, even through that person? And
Than what you lost.
and yeah, instead of focusing on what was lost. And I think, and again, what I shared earlier, like what really helped me shift my perspective is like, what kind of imprint or impact did I leave on that person? I know I showed up at absolute best. I showed up the way like you said, I showed up the way I wanted to be showed up for. I challenged myself, I put myself out there. I did things that felt really authentic. I felt like I was authentic through and through. Like I have no regrets in the way that I showed up, and I saw some shortcomings. I saw some places where I was like, ooh, that is never had that opportunity before. So I didn't really know how to show up in that way. But now I have a better understanding of what I will do next time and believing that there's going to be a next time. That's not the last person I'll ever love or connect with or any of that. And so really, 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 I think my biggest takeaway from our conversation and what I hope other people take away from this experience from my end is understanding that like there's more, there's always more to be experienced, there's always more to be had. And I think I can't remember what book this comes from, or maybe it was a speaker I heard someone talk. I think it was actually from Neville Goddard, and he talks about how people have such a limited understanding of the divine. What
Mm,
tell by the way by what they ask for and how they ask for and how little they ask for because they think that God doesn't have enough to give everybody but abundant.
mm.
I know that's something I have had to check within myself. And I think that that goes for all facets and aspects and capacity of life. It's not just love, it's not just money, it's not just partnerships or whatever. It's everything. It's like, how big are you really expecting God to move in your life? How big are you really expecting yourself to be able to show up and do things? If we are indeed, like we were saying, like you and I are both professing that we believe that we're fragments of the divine, right? We're aspects of the divine. Well, of course we have just as much power as the divine. Like why would the divine not give itself enough power to move through these experiences? And and so those are just things that I'm checking myself on when I allow myself to slip up and to forget, right? And I actually just got started back writing my affirmations because I've been, like I said, I've been doing my voice notes and I go back and I listen to them. And I was like, you know what? I'm feeling really called to, I'm calibrating into a new identity. And what does this new identity believe about the divine? What does this new identity expect of the divine? And I've been writing affirmations in that of those thought forms. You talk about thought forms, right? And how those carry energy and manifestation as well. And so I'm really checking myself of like, what are the thought forms? What are the seeds that I want to be sowing into myself energetically, mentally, emotionally? As I'm moving through life, even in the highs, the lows, and the ups and downs. And those, yeah,
Absolutely.
I want
And
to
I
share
may
with
I,
that.
and no, and I love that because one thing I've loved about this journey for me personally, and whenever I connect with people like you as my friends or just the larger community at wherever they are on the planet, is that we are our own form of self-correction because we
Mm,
know the original truth. So it's just like the more I realized that I knew not only an inner knowing, but in inner knowing, I found out everything outer too, is that
mm,
I can self-correct myself before anyone else does. I
Hmm.
can sit here and give myself my own advice, which again, when I think about it, it's something that I always struggled with because I always felt like I was a burden. Like whenever I didn't have something figured out, I'd just be like, man, like I don't want people to waste their time with me. I don't want people to, again, a part of my bigger depression when I felt like I was alone, when I shut myself off from the people who love me, was me feeling like I was a burden to them. And I was just like, man, like I wouldn't waste my time with myself. Why would I waste your time with me? Right. And one thing that uh that basically came on to me to be a piece is that I prayed to know the truth when I was very young, no matter how many times I had to be deconstructed, no matter how many times I had to sit here and sacrifice myself to knowing the truth. I prayed that it didn't have me sacrifice anybody else, but I was like, I'm willing to give myself to you. And as small as that may be, it's all I got. So I'm willing to give
Mm.
myself to you to know you, but I really want to know you beyond anything else. And I don't care if it takes me to Kabbalah. I don't care if it takes me to Anunnaki. I don't care if it takes me to um what's the other book? The Apocrypha. I don't care where it takes me. I want to know you.
Mm.
And the reason why I want to know you is because the more I feel like I know you, the more I know me. And I know where I'm here and I know what I'm doing and I know how I'm going to affect people. I might even know how this all plays out. And it's not for an ego thing. It's for me to serve you in the best way I know how. So when I
Yes.
speak with such a passion to everything that you're saying, Megan, the reason why I'm grateful for this is because me and you talked about this a lot. If viewers don't think we get tested in this, you are dead wrong. Like our tests come every day. It comes every day. It comes in every prayer. It comes in before any words get spoken. Like we are our harshest self-critics. We're the ones who will sit here and be like, man, I don't want a word to land wrong. I don't want a thought to land wrong. I want everyone to know how much I love my people, how much I love humanity, even the darkness of it, even the darkness of it, because we all have the potential to come to light. We all have the potential, the choice, because we were made so powerful. We were made so powerful. And I guess this will be my last remark since we're going to wrap up, is that we have to really um not only be grateful for that, but like you said, with the grounding and the wisdom of that, we have to really understand that, and I hope that we understand that we give ourselves our value and we give
Mm.
ourselves our value from the womb. We gave ourselves our value from the womb. It's like I don't find a deficit. I'm pretty sure, generations from now, or maybe in the generation coming up, there'll be someone to challenge my concepts, and I invite it. But in the more I flesh this out, I'm just like, man, if you knew you were accountable for everything, and you knew you picked a path, and you knew you came out of love itself, then
Mm.
what is there in 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 denying that there is not a lesson? What is
Mm.
to lose in denying everything? There's everything to lose in denying that you put yourself through something that you can never learn from. There's everything to lose, but there's everything to gain. If you sit here and say, hey, wait a minute, if I put myself through, like we were talking about depression, if you let something take you so far, we're talking about child abandonment, right? We're talking about parents who left their kids alone. We're talking about the foster system. When I went through depression, I was kicked out and I was homeless. And I was pregnant with my daughter, my first child. What can I learn from, like you said, seeing the light, seeing the divinity in this? Sometimes the divinity is just knowing that you can survive it. Sometimes the
Mm.
divinity is just knowing that there's another day that's going to come. If you choose another day, it's going to come. Why? Because you chose to see another day. You chose that. And there's nothing, and I don't remember what ancient thing said this, but I know it's an old quote that there's nothing that you put yourself through that you cannot make it through. Nothing. Because the fact that you can choose to go through it means that you knew before you did it that you could survive it.
Mm.
So you don't owe it, you owe it to yourself to see it through to the other side, especially when you're sitting here experimenting. You experimenting with your life, like that's what this whole thing is about. We forget so that we can go through the joy of remembering. It's supposed to be a joy. Even if we go through a lot of stuff, it's just like, man, like you supposed to sit back at the end and be like, man, remember those days when we were sitting out here acting a whole fool and trying to do this? It's like you're supposed to look back and be like, man, the joy of that is knowing we knew we would make it here.
Mm.
But we knew that we had to go through all the craziness too. Like we know this already. We know we have to go through the craziness of it. And now you're looking at humanity at large and being like, okay, what if all of humanity is just a teenager? What if all of
Mm.
humanity is just a teenager right now? Like we're a young species on the planet. And we're basically going through all the teenage angst, all the stuff that's just like, man, y'all hormones going up and down, and y'all don't know how to do this and the third. And y'all really think it's that deep, and it's not. And it's like, why y'all making spirituality so complicated? Why y'all going into what they call it tonalities and frequency? We
Mm-hmm.
don't know we like. We've been through this. Like it's so, it's so complicated for. And it's like because if we know what it is to survive teenage years,
Mm-hmm.
know when we make a little thing a big thing. And we
Mm-hmm.
know how much energy, because we have the youth, right? We know how much energy we can put into going like, man, this little boy in high school really getting on my nerve. It's like, how many times do adults came in your life and be like, that little boy not gonna be there in 2 years, right? But that year is like your whole life. Everything is focused on that one moment. And it's a joy again to see humanity come out of this because when we talk about depression, I don't realize that people maybe it's a perspective from like you always say, Mick, but my perspective is that we've seen humanity have this access to create all the wealth we
Mm-hmm.
ever want. We can literally make money now. We can make resource. How are we killing each other more than ever before? How are we killing ourselves? Not each other, by the way. We stopped killing each other. We started killing ourselves. How? How is that possible? When you, masculine energy, say that we're in the most abundant and affluent time in all of human history. So what does that mean? What does that mean that we're missing? It means that you guys brushed depression under the rug and y'all thought resources and data and a whole bunch of other stuff would fuel something that only emotional intelligence and emotional security could ever back. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
why I love spirituality and the reason why I use spirituality as a core component in my teachings to battle depression is because but I basically tell people, hey, listen, you're depressed until you don't want to be depressed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And it might
Mm-hmm.
sound blunt and it might sound like something distant thing. I was like, but as someone who has survived depression, as someone who have talked through with people who have also survived depression, know that depression comes in waves. You survive it a lot through your lifetime, especially if you doubt yourself and you never come out of that whole thing of like not giving yourself your worth. If you
Woo!
know that thing that's going to get you out of it, you'll go through the waves of it because that's the lesson. The lesson is like, why are you still battling your value? Didn't you just survive 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times? Why are you sitting here still questioning this? You survived 8 times. How many times do you have to survive it? And until you learn that you are depressed until you're not depressed no more. And that's why I said, Mick, as far as my depression goes, that's why when I opened up with this thing, the first I ever got in my depression is when you came to me like a savior. You were just like, yo, I don't know how I'm feeling, Anna, but I'm gonna call Anna. And you called me literally when I was just like, Mickey, Maddie really disappoints me sometimes. And I remember just saying it like that, like, man, I don't know if we're gonna make it through. I don't know if am I naive? Am I being ignorant? Am I being innocent? Like, what is going on? And you sat here and said 2 words to me. You said, not you. And that
I
shit,
never heard you talk like that before. I know you don't talk like that. You how many times have you had to pull me out the damn mud? And I
girl,
was like, oh no,
when I tell
not you.
you what you put to me that day, you put a defibrillator. You did this. What you did? Because I was on the bed like, Mickey, I don't know, man. Like, and you said, not you. You sounded like a spiritual sister and a mom. And I was like, okay. It's how you gave me a spiritual spanking. You was like, not you. And I'm like, okay, all right.
So now,
Not
yeah,
me.
I know
Okay.
if Ariana's thinking like this, she is going through it because that is not how she talks.
Yeah, man. And it's something that again, I cater back to depression because there is layers to this. The most depression I have now is not internally. It's always looking at humanity now and saying, hey, listen, can we make it? But the
Mm,
more I see people battle depression, the more I see people survive it, is the more that it refuels me. It says, yeah,
mm,
we can beat it because look at all the people in my life who are beating it. Look at all the people who have survived it time and time and time again and still battle with the resilience of what they are. But they have the proof of how resilient they are. They have it. They have it in their hands. It's like you didn't let depression take you out when you were 13, 17, 19, 23, 30. How many more instances do you need to survive?
mm,
Because rather than looking at you having to survive another wave, why can't you just tell depression that you're too resilient for it? Why can't you just
mm.
tell depression that you are too persevering? Or as as my fellow Christians like to say, why can't you just tell depression, be gone, Satan? Like, why can't you just dismiss it? Because it's not working. And what I mean by that is that depression served its purpose in your life. It gave you the confidence that only probably depression could have taught you, is that you are worth from life at conception, Mick. Again, you know me, you only preach things that I tend to mentor myself the same way. I'm a 1 in 10 million chance. of the DNA of my father and my mother. There was 9,999 other brothers and sisters that could have came out my mom's vagina, and only I came out.
Mm.
So, in that miracle, and that's just one of the many that have us here sitting here today, how could I not think I'm valuable? How could I not
Mm.
think that God didn't have a purpose for me? How do I cannot think that the whole of divinity made a whole time space reality? A whole reality, a whole space and time made me have friends that I could love and take bullets for? How? Like how could that even be a thing? Even if it's one person, even if it was one person, like you said, to choose to love. Of course, love's going to come for you. The hardest thing that I've had to coach people through is telling a broken heart to try and love again. That has been my hardest thing to coach because people love once, often men, not women. Women are way more resilient in love than men. But
Mm.
men will love once and they'll get heartbroken. They'll never love again. And I'm just like, if you don't know that love is resilience, then you were never a loving person. Love
Mm.
is knowing that people, when you come and love them, might not love you back. That cup might have a hole or two or three, but you don't love them for them. You love them because that's who you are.
Yeah.
And you only lose that fight when you sit here and say, you know what, I'm not choosing to love anymore. Okay, let's just say you take that choice. Let's just say you choose not to love anymore. And you end up being the person that needed that love. And when you walked across that stranger, they said, hey, listen, I have all the power to help you, but I'm just not choosing to love anybody today.
Mm.
Are you blaming yourself when they kill themselves? Are you blaming themselves when they end up on alcohol or drugs? The one strange transaction, the 1 minute where it's just like, man, I didn't choose to love today. I'm not choosing to love anymore. And it might just be a little sibling. It might be a little girl or boy that's coming here saying, hey, listen, mister, can you help me with such and such and such? Yeah, nah,
Mm.
sorry, kid. I ain't falling for that no more.
Hmm.
Don't you know you was talking to you? Don't you know that that was a test right there in that moment because you just you let yourself be corrupted. You chose another path. And God forbid that come back to you when you need it the most. And that has been my hardest thing to coach people in depression and in heartache is that you cannot let depression take you so far to where, again, you start to lose your own self-value. There's too many things that tell you in your waking hours when you wake up, for example. I think me and Henry was talking about this where I was just like, hey, listen, even when people look to hurt other people, right, and they look to kill people that are close to people, I was like, the
Mm.
only people who mourn are the living. You think the dead mourn? I was like, mourning is a consequence of the living. That is why
Mm.
people look to hurt people who are still alive. They want to torture people. So if you're looking at depression in that way, I was like, the fact that you could even wake up and think of depression is a miracle. The fact that you can wake up and say, you know what, I'm feeling sad today. Oh, are you really? Because someone couldn't wake up today to feel nothing.
Mm.
Happy, sad, angry, upset, they died in their sleep. So you even waking up to say, you know what, I feel down today shows the walking miracle you are. Because someone
Mm.
wake up, a baby did not make it out the womb today to even know what feelings are, to even experience that. So when I talk about spirituality, the reason why I feel like we're coming into this modality, I'm gonna wrap it up with this because I know I said I was gonna wrap it up like 10 minutes ago. The reason why this modality is really important to me, and you can hear our passion behind it, is because spirituality, I do believe, is the grounding for everything else. And I
Yeah.
do believe the more that we come into our remembrance that we're spiritual creatures, is the easier life gets. And it's the more that we can navigate and we can know how to sit here and go like, okay, I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to choose that. I'm going to rock with this for a little bit. But if I don't work out, I'm going to laugh it off. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to go do something else. It's like we know that life is to be enjoyed. And life
Mm.
is to sit there and go like, wow, if I chose this life, then I didn't choose it to suffer. I chose it to enjoy myself. I chose it to do something. God gave me a purpose, source gave me a purpose because nothing's wasteful, nothing is unintentional. Source is
Right.
intentional in everything that it does. So isn't that infinite, isn't that intrinsic value? If it's
Mhm.
purposeful in everything that it does, if it's a master of design, not even
Mm.
two grass look alike. Two blades of grass, things that we walk on all the time that we think nothing of. Two blades of grass are different. So something so meticulous is going to give you no value.
Mm.
And that's why I really love using spirituality as a core modality when it comes to coaching and to speaking life and to really battling depression. And the more that we survive and make, this was my final thought because I was trying to wrap it back up in my head. But this is the self coaching that we do.
Yeah.
So we learn these truths because we wake up and it's like, it's not that you're not going to battle these tests anymore. It's how long you let these tests go. And it's
Yeah.
just like, well, will you let it stagnate you? Will you let it keep you in bed all day? Will you let it keep you in a bed for a year, 2 years, 3 years? Or will you sit here and say, depression hit me today, but not that deep. You know what I mean? I thought
Mm-hmm.
about it, but it was just like, it took up like 5 minutes of my day. Then I got over it. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's again, it's a choice of what we allow it to do and how we let it forge us. And I just want to let everyone know out there, if you are battling with depression, if you are battling with your value and what you bring, please know from the minute you were born, you had an intrinsic value that no one else can do. No one else on this planet brings the value that you bring. No one here on this planet is going to contribute what you can. The only thing you owe it to yourself to do is to see out what you contribute. That's it. And it's not for anyone else's satisfaction, it's for yours. It's for your satisfaction to know that you did a job well done and then you could be out. But if you
That's
can't,
soul fulfillment. That's what I feel like the biggest
yeah,
lesson of depression is soul fulfillment and is taking a look at where am I still not allowing myself to be free, to be happy, to be loved, to be secure, to be, all the things. It's like where there's this essence of self-neglect
yes, yeah.
that was taught, right? Or even learned, unconsciously learned. And I think that
That's
is
how they
a
take our
big
power away.
mm-hmm.
Take our power away like that. But let people speak life into you. I know people when they're in depression, they think like people just fluffing you up and like you have to say those things.
Yes,
No, we
man.
don't have. Please know that that's a lie that you're taught. No one has to say anything to you. No
Mm-hmm.
one owes you anything in this world. I hope people really understand that no one owes you anything. So when people speak life into you, please look at that as a God or God is coming into your life and saying, hey, listen, I'm not going to let you perish today. I'm going to speak life into you because I'm looking at myself.
Mm.
Allow yourself not to be in this cheesy lie of like, oh yeah, well, you have to say that because you're my girlfriend, you're my friend, you're my this and that. I don't have to say nothing. Did y'all not know that there's some friends that you wish you only swear they enemies? Like it's just like, damn, like that's what you call your best friend, the one who's sitting here stealing from you, freaking giving you dirty looks, all that other stuff. That's what you call your friend? Damn, then you know for a fact I didn't have to speak life into your crazy ass. Like it's like because if that's your
Mm-hmm.
circle, then you know I'm coming with sovereignty. You know I'm saying stuff because I'm choosing to tell you, not because you're
Mm-hmm.
forcing me to tell you. So again, I just hope that people really understand if you can't speak the life into yourself, guys, please, when you feel yourself in dire straits, really hold on to the people who speak life into you. Speak life, because at the end of the day, we all live for ourselves. We all live for ourselves. So at the end of the day, yes, some people love you. And if you decide to do stuff like on your own, that's fine. But at the end of the day, only you are the most valuable thing to you. So when people
Mm-hmm.
life into you, they're trying to tell you to love yourself as much as they love you or more. That's what they're basically trying to tell you. Love you the way I love you, or love yourself more than what I love you.
Mm.
You don't lose in those two things. If you love me, if you love yourself equal to me, then we win. If you love yourself past me,
Right. I'm learning something from you today.
right? It's like then go ahead. Just don't be egotistical. We know love to be guys. Love is not ego. Okay, so not love yourself to where
Mhm.
you think you're Queen Sheba, but it's like
Right.
nah, love yourself to where it's like man, like this person's radiating.
Mhm.
This person speaks life. Man, I remember when they was down in the trenches. Now they sitting here ministering. Damn, like it's just like how because you learned the lesson. If depression is the lesson, then the lesson is to speak life because you know what it is to feel death.
Mm.
It is to feel death at your own hand, which I think is something so powerful to know.
It's so powerful.
It's so
Oh
powerful
my
to know
gosh.
death at your own hand. So
Yes.
isn't it so funny that the people who come out of depression end up being ministers and people who end up
And I think
speaking?
too,
Oh,
I feel like it takes the power, at least for me, when I what's the word? I was gonna say rationalize it, or when I think of it, when
mhm,
I make meaning out of it,
yeah,
it's like there's no way I can let someone be more powerful than me or have more power over me if I'm willing to do this to myself. There's nothing you could do to me that make me blink an eye. You know what I'm saying? It's like because
yeah.
if you're already in that state or space and willing or even
And no other
considering,
human comes close. No other human comes close. But that's the how they say the blessing and the curse. The
hmm
blessing and the curse comes with that power. It's like, nah, if anyone's gonna take me out, I'm gonna take out myself. But I'm not going to take out myself before my work is done. I'm not going to leave the people who I love and who I know love me hurting. I'm not going to
right,
do that because now, because I'm so self-conscious, I am aware. It's not just self-consciousness, it's self-awareness. It's like I am
yeah,
aware of how many people love me. I know how many people invested into me. I know how many people that I hold a rock for. So if I take myself out, it can't just be about me.
hmm
So again, I really do implore everybody here, if you can't speak life into yourself, Do not ignore those. Learn something from our stories. Do not ignore the people who speak life because it's something I had learned in my later years. But when I look back at the friends, Mickey being one of them, that spoke life into me in such dire straits, it was really a thing of like, wow, they didn't have to choose to speak life into me. They could have been my Achilles heel. They could have been the thing that's just like, yo, Anna, you don't think nothing of yourself? I'm glad you finally realized that you are nothing.
Mm.
Oh, that took me out. How is it so crazy that God sent even one voice? And I was blessed to have one. God knows I'm trying to still figure out how I deserve like five people to say it. But it's like even one person saying that to me was just like, man, when you realize how spiritually powerful it is, like, yo, you didn't even owe me that. You didn't
Mm.
owe it to me to say you love me. You didn't owe it to me to say that, yo, you're bright, you're a star, you have so much to go for yourself. Because some of those people, Mick, who spoke life into me to this day, again, love and distance, we don't even have each other's number.
Mm.
So they came in almost like an angel, and they'll never know that. They came in like an angel to my life, and that's what I mean by the sovereignty of it. It's like let
Mm.
people speak life into you and do not think it's corny or it's dorky. That is source literally using people, strangers even, to come here and tell you you have so much more to live for. Not even your best friend owes it to you. Again, with some people, friends out here, you could wish for enemies. Your best friends don't even owe that to you to tell you. We do it because we really know it to be true, and we're trying to convince you to know it for yourself. And
Mm.
that is what I believe our coaching is. When I told you that I battle between coaching and a friend, I really
Yeah.
coaching is just being just a really good friend and be able to say, hey, listen, time to get up, and maybe smack you on the face a little bit when you try to sleep past your alarm clock. But also, like, hey, listen, if you want to cry, then we can cry. And if you
Right.
feel down today, then feel down today, and I'll be there with you. I'm not going to sit here and judge you in it. I'll be here with you when you're crying. I'll be here with you when you're heartbroken. I'll be here when you're questioning your worth. But don't sit here and try to convince me. Do not try to sit here and convince the person who is in it with you, to believe in your delusion. Because I'm not going to do that because now I'm allowing you to change who I am.
Mm.
Not gonna sit here and yeah, and ain't I so pathetic? No, you think you pathetic. If I thought you was pathetic, I wouldn't be here. Like so, you think you're pathetic. I'm trying to tell you, girl, if you think you pathetic, then you say something about me, because why would I be with you?
Mm.
So you speaking about the people who even surround you. So please, guys, when you're in these spots, go inner, go silent for a moment, and let the universe. If there's one thing I learned for sure, go inner, go silent, and let the universe speak to you. Because
Mm.
sometimes the answers in the life that you're looking for, when you are down and out, you can't give yourself that life. Allow the universe, if you ever want to know there's a loving God, creator, divine, divinity, whatever. If you ever want to know that it's loving, be in a spot where you can't speak life into yourself and see how much love come to you. See how it comes. It comes from strangers. It comes from people that it comes from a random person going through a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Because the universe will tell you that it made you with purpose. It made you with value. And it's not for you to take yourself out. And I pray that our testimonies landed with someone today. This ended up being a longer episode, but I'm in my towers today. So if you flow with us, what is time? If you was resonating on that stuff, like what is time and what is this and the third, then you was right in the right podcast because we let this
Right.
go off a little longer than what our normal episodes are. But
And I feel like there's something in it for everyone. For those who watch or listen to the whole thing in spurts or bouts or whatever, then they'll receive. Those who listen to it for an hour, that's what they're supposed to get. They're supposed to get that
yes,
hour. And if they feel
yes,
called to come back and listen to the other hour, 2 hours, whatever,
yes,
they'll
yes.
come back and listen to
Listen, it's
it.
a timeless thing. And I
Yes.
pray that people know that again, I know that I would listen to us time in, time out, time in and time
Mhm.
out. Because like
Right.
you said, like there's
Come in and give it to
messages
me. Yeah.
in and out of time here. So again, guys, if you're battling with depression, again, we know this is a very happy episode. We might have touched some people to where they're really going through it. Listen, you are amongst friends, you're amongst survivors, you're amongst people who deal with it in waves, but we are here to speak life into each other, and we're here to tell you that there is something greater on the other side. If you decide to
Mhm.
stick it out, and we only pray and hope that you do because we are all family and we are all one, and we all evolve, and we all get love when everyone chooses life every day. We
Yes.
all are more successful, and we all elevate together. So we're definitely gonna send some stuff in the chat, I mean, sorry, learning YouTube, We'll put some things down in the description for anyone who needs resources or needs any type of help if they're dealing with struggles in their life. Or again, me and Mickey do this podcast off of our own businesses. If you want to reach out to any one of us, both of us, and talk about your story, we'll have you here on the show. But the stories need to be shared. And even if you are here on the episode, and even if you want to tell your story, please know that we were here to be speaking. We were here to speak life into you. Maybe you get called to speak life into us. That's what this
Mm,
whole journey is all about. So, again, guys, we know this was a heavy episode, but we hope that you resonate with something. We hope that you
yeah.
go away feeling a little lighter today, a little bit more valued, appreciated, loved, heard, understood, because this is the Order of Remembrance, and we're just all just remembering together.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen. Shay.
Amen. And
And my final thought and notes are just wherever you are in your life, your reality, just take stock and see where you can see or feel the connection to the divine. Whatever sources, glimmers of light you can find them, and just keep pulling them closer and closer and closer into you.
Ashe. And
That's my
all
prayer.
praises to
Yeah.
the Most High and the Most High. It's been episode 3 of the Order of Remembrance. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share with anyone who you feel like needs to hear this message, that needs to resonate with this
Please.
message. And again, we are never that far away. We are all a family. We are all one. Reach out to us at any time. We'll put our links in the socials and stuff in the description as always. And until next time, guys, this has been the Order of Remembrance.
Peace.
Say that.